Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another Money Space with me, Kalu Aja. On here, we're talking money, the economy, personal finance, and what an interesting week we've gone through if you're calling in from Nigeria. Their fuel lines are back, the usual story, the usual suspects. NNPC has come out to say, hey, we can't afford this quote unquote subsidy payment that we're making. If we keep on paying, we'll go broke. They've released their results. They made a lot of profit, but the federation is owing NPC billions in unpaid subsidy payments. We've seen Reuters come out and say, hey, there's about 3.5 billion or more that the NPC is owing to the importers. The guys are bringing petroleum products for Nigerians to use. So lots of figures. The federal government says there is no subsidy. They're not paying subsidy. NNPC says the federation is owing them billions for subsidy. Reuters and everyone knows that there's an outstanding in Nigeria on subsidy payments. Dangote refinery, the back and forth has finally sort of come to rest. Dangote has now been allowed to buy crude oil in Naira so he can refine and sell to Nigerians. After the back and forth of saying the Dangote refinery did not have a license, their products were substandard. In effect, the federal government was trying to rubbish a $15 billion investment. Just to be clear, the Dangote investment is the largest single investment in Nigeria's history. Say that again. The Dangote refinery, petrochemical plant in Lagos, is the largest single investment in the history of Nigeria. That same investment the federal government called unlicensed and a provider of fake products. So now Dangote seems to be up and running. There was a news last week that it was exclusive to NNPC, which is not true. They're simply saying that NNPC is the sole importer. So other guys can buy, but NNPC is now going to buy only from Dangote for its own stations in Nigeria. But where do we stand in all this? Things are a bit confusing. Is there a subsidy? Is there no subsidy? Why is there a subsidy so high today? Why is it that with Dangote, a refinery out, prices we pay at the pumps in Nigeria are still high? Let's just have a space. Let me try to give you the facts, right? And then we can talk around the facts per se. But let me just try to establish what I think is really going on. And let's start from the very, very basic. What is a subsidy? A subsidy is simple. If you sell below the cost price, there's a subsidy. Period. It's that simple. If your cost price is 10 and you sell at 9, there's a subsidy of 1. Doesn't matter who is paid to, doesn't matter if nobody was paid, there's a subsidy. So that's the first part. Nigeria is paying a subsidy. Or there's a subsidy on the premium motor spirit, the fuel that you put in your car, there's a subsidy. Number 2, is a subsidy good for the economy? The answer is yes. There is no developed nation or economy or system that you find that there is not one form of subsidy or the other. In the United States, farmers get a certain kind of diesel that they use for farming. It's colored purple, it's different. So that when the police stop your truck and they shine a light in your fuel tank and they see that diesel in your car, it's a big wahala for you. They subsidize farmers. So this is a direct subsidy to the farmers to produce food. That's why American food is all sometimes cheap, right? Because they subsidize the cost of producing that food. That's how they do this. All across the EU, in China, you see state subsidies. It could be a subsidy on transportation or a subsidy in taxation. But subsidies are good because they give the local players an advantage. You can have a subsidy or you can call it a tariff. You can have a subsidy, you can call it a deferred taxation. But in effect, like I said, once the cost of something is established and you are getting a service below that cost, there's a subsidy. So if tax is 30%, but local players pay 20%, there's a subsidy. So we've answered the second question. So number 3, is Nigeria paying a subsidy? Of course, the answer is yes, we're paying a subsidy Because from the NNPCs and from independent analysis, the cost of landed fuel is way in the 1200s or 1300s. But it's sold even today at 898 officially. Before this issue, it was sold at way less than that. So there is a subsidy. So this is where we are right now. There is a subsidy, even though the government says there's no subsidy, but we know there is. But why is there a subsidy? Let's now go deeper. Why is there a subsidy? Well, if you think back to say 1970, Nigeria had 4 functional petroleum refineries. 4 functional refineries that would take crude oil from Nigeria and would refine that crude oil, and they would sell that crude oil locally. Sorry, sell the PMS crude oil locally. So what was the problem? From 1960, if you look at the price of crude oil, from 1960 to say about 1970, it didn't really go that much high. The crude oil we see today about $100, $80. It's a very, very recent phenomenon that prices have stayed so high for so long. For a very, very long time, prices were like $3, $4, $5. That low. Right? And now prices are very, very high. So in the past, Nigeria had functional refineries. So we take the crude oil. Crude oil is priced in dollars, not in naira. We take the crude oil, we refine locally. We're able to subsidize the cost of that local PMS by the returns we make from the exports. And also our debt was also very, very low. Very important because we pay debt in dollars. I just posted a chart on my Twitter page of the rise in petroleum subsidies from 2005 all the way to 2023. If you take a look at it, in 2011, that was when we really saw the crude oil subsidy, petroleum subsidies really go high in Nigeria to now 2 billion. Before this time, the highest amount of subsidy Nigeria paid was about 667 million naira before then, right? From 2011, we saw 2 billion, and then you have the 1 billion, 1.3, 1.2, 2018, 1.9 billion, 2021, 1.4 billion. Then if you now come to 2023, you now have the 4 billion, 4 billion, and they have the 3.6 billion ongoing in 2023. So what we can see is that petroleum subsidies do not follow demand and supply. You can't say that there were more cars in 2011 and less cars in 2019, for instance. It's the same amount of cars, but the subsidy goes up, the subsidy comes down, right? It doesn't matter if the oil prices are up or down. Again, I plotted this chart with the oil prices. If you look at the highest price recorded that we've had about for crude oil, about 2008, at that point, Nigeria's subsidy payments were still down. But then again, a refinery or two in Nigeria were working. Right now, no refinery is working. So what has the Nigerian oil experience been? The NNPC will pump out crude oil, export the crude oil to a refiner. The refiner then replaces or swaps that crude oil with PMS. It's that PMS that we bring back to Nigeria. The price the PMS lands in Nigeria, that's the cost price. Now, NNPC then has to pay a subsidy because the retail price of PMS is higher, or is lower. The official pegged price is lower than that cost price. Hence, you have the subsidy. So the subsidy is driven because we take the crude oil, we export it or we swap it for PMS. The PMS then comes back. Remember, only PMS coming back. The other byproducts of crude oil stay with the refinery. That's what we're told. So only PMS comes back. The PMS comes back, but we have a retail price that has been capped. And because we have a retail price that has been capped, NNPC then has to pay subsidy. Where is NNPC getting this money to pay the subsidy from? NNPC is simply debiting its own sales to pay for the subsidy. When NNPC debits its own sales, what it means is that the federation, the FAC, does not receive that revenue. So if you unbundle all what we've said right now, the folks paying for the subsidy is you, listening, your taxes that are supposed to come back to you from your states, local governments, and the federal government does not come back to you because the NNPC does not remit to the FAC. Rather, it takes those funds and covers the cost of paying the subsidy. Again, let's reverse. NNPC's crude oil priced in dollars is taken abroad. NNPC refines that crude oil, brings it back as PMS, only PMS. NNPC then says the local price in Nigeria is fixed and the cost of our landed product at the ports is also fixed, right? So the difference between that port cost and the retail pump cost, that's the subsidy. So NNPC then says to bring in the goods into Nigeria, we have to pay to equalize it, to bring the price low. So NNPC will debit itself to make the price of PMS in Nigeria fall to the level that the Nigerian government has set it on. So NNPC is paying itself on the crude oil itself. That's what's going on. And that's why you have the subsidy, because you are paying the subsidy at the port, right? Now, what does the Dangote do? What does the Dangote refinery do? When you have a local refinery that is functional, remember before Dangote we have refineries in Nigeria, we have one in Niger Delta that refines diesel, but we don't have anyone with the capacity of Dangote to immediately take over the entire supply or demand of PMS from Nigeria. We don't have anything like that. Now, once Dangote comes, it means that NNPC does not have to export its crude oil out of Nigeria to bring back PMS. All NNPC has to do is to take that same crude that it is taken out of Nigeria and give it to Dangote. If Dangote refinery gets that crude oil, they would refine it. Not only refine it, the byproducts that were left in the foreign refineries are now in Nigeria. So the NNPC can get not just its PMS, it can get other products, the polyethanes, the benzene, the bitumen, all that from the same Dangote refinery. So what this means is that the cost to refine abroad and local in Nigeria has now changed. Dangote reduces the cost of refining. Not that the cost of refining is going to go lower with Dangote, but the byproducts from the same crude oil that Dangote is going to retain is going to now become a pool of funds to subsidize. It's no longer going to be NNPC saying that we're going to take our revenues from the difference between the PMS and the crude oil swap. Rather, Dangote will receive 100,000 barrels of crude oil. It would refine it to see this is your PMS, this is your diesel, this is your aviation fuel. NNPC gets all those byproducts, and NNPC is able to sell those byproducts and fund this pool of funds that should then pay the subsidy. That's what the Dangote refinery is supposed to do. To come in, receive that 450,000 local barrels that NNPC is allocated, refine it at the same cost, because remember the refining cost is the same in Nigeria and abroad. The refining cost is the same. That's if you put the crude oil in the traditional pipes, it's the same. It's not because it's in Lagos or Netherlands, it's the same. What changes is the cost to get that fuel to Lagos or to Netherlands. So Dangote's refinery only removes the transportation cost. It does not affect the refining cost. It's the same chemicals in Netherlands and Lagos to refine a barrel of crude oil. But it will cost you cheaper to go from Delta to Lagos than Delta to Netherlands and back. So that's the advantage of the Dangote refinery. Which is why it was troubling to hear the same federal government say that the Dangote refinery was bringing out inferior products. Because if that line had allowed to stand, that would mean that this advantage of having a local refinery would not happen. We will still be exporting crude, doing the swap, and NNPC will still be debiting Nigerians for the difference between the local retail price and their cost of landed product at the port. So where are we today? The NNPC has said they are the sole importers. We have Dangote refineries, but we have fuel queues. The question I get asked, will Dangote refinery cause the price of local PMS to fall? The answer is no. Because unfortunately, guys, remember, look at the chart I shared on the Twitter page. Crude oil is priced in dollars. Hence, if you take that same 450,000 barrels and you give it to Dangote, even if he pays in naira, he is still paying the naira exchange, i.e., the 1/6 multiplied by how many dollars he wants to buy. He's not paying 10 naira to $1. He's paying the 1600 to $1 or whatever the exchange rate is. Because he's paying that naira rate, of course, there is a subsidy, right? Because the only way you can reduce the price of PMS in Nigeria is to sell Dangote crude oil below the market price. Nothing wrong with that. Remember, we've said subsidies are good, but you then have to pay a subsidy not to the foreign refineries, but to the local refinery, Dangote. Nothing wrong with that, guys. But that's where we are. The refineries are not going to reduce the price of retail PMS sold in Nigeria. It will not. It will bring it down, but the real cost of refined PMS is the crude oil. That's the base. Like the cost of cocoa, of cocoa butter is cocoa. The same way, the cost of crude oil of PMS is crude oil first before you start to add other transportation, demurrage, interest. So the price, guys, is not going to fall materially. So where we are right now, the government cannot afford to pay a subsidy. Sorry, cannot afford to pay a subsidy on imported PMS because it's imported, it's in dollars. So the question, let me end by this, so you guys can request to speak and we can talk around. I have so much information, but I don't want to monopolize the room. The only way, guys, you are going to get cheap PMS is for the NNPC to simply take its entire crude oil allocation and hand over to Dangote to refine locally. When it does that, Dangote is able to refine it and return PMS to the NNPC to distribute locally. But also, Dangote will return Dangote can export the bitumen, export the diesel, and also return those funds back to the NNPC as this is your extra revenues from the crude oil you gave us. It's from that pool, in my mind, that the nation should then debit to pay for subsidy. And that subsidy should not go to everybody. If you earn above a certain amount of money, you should not enjoy your subsidy. The subsidy should be tied to the type of car you buy. And it's very easy to do that. We all register our cars. If you simply tie in the license plate attached to the VIN number of the car to your NIN phone, end of story. That means if you drive a Prado Jeep, you should not enjoy subsidy. But if you drive a commercial bus, you drive a small engine capacity car, which means your income is lower, then you should enjoy a subsidy. So we're not paying the subsidy at the ports, we're paying the subsidy at the pump, and we're being specific. If you are driving an SUV, a Mercedes Benz, a BMW that has a high engine capacity, which means you can afford that car, you don't get a subsidy. You pay full price. But if you want a subsidy and you're a commercial car driver, you take your phone, you take your license plate, you take your VIN number. They are all tied in together. You link it together. The government gives you a subsidy payment of say 5,000 or 10,000 naira. You go to the filling station, you buy gas, you pay the filling station through naira. If you want to pay for more, use your own cash. So this way, the government can still retain a subsidy. We can eliminate the high cost of the PMS swaps because now we're refining locally and we're getting advantage of the byproduct that Dangote is doing. So we pay the subsidy for the specific amount of Nigerians and we move on. We have the subsidy, the poor enjoy it, the rich pay for it, our refineries are working, everybody wins. What do you guys say? I've got Oxley. Oxley Tech, thanks for kicking it. What's in your mind?
Okay, Carlos, great submission. Been, cool, very cool analysis. Someone watched TV and okay? So, very cool analysis. So, I think as a country, we are confused, right? Now, I scanned through the news in the last 24 hours, and what I'm seeing is that federal government and the NNPC are negotiating prices with Dangote in terms of what will be sold at the pump. Meanwhile, Dangote is a refinery that has started even producing diesel at the time, and the government knows that Dangote will produce PMS at some point. It is when the PMS started flowing at the Dangote lifting point that is now decided to begin to have negotiation with him. That's on one side. Now, on what you have talked about in terms of PMS subsidy, the point is that Dangote, I think Nigerians has continued to confuse the fact that Dangote, everybody has been rejoicing in the past a week plus. Hey, Dangote refinery is producing PMS. Dangote is not a charity. Dangote refinery was not built for Nigerians to enjoy PMS or whatever. That's not the reason why that refinery was established. That refinery was established for profitability,
All right, let me get Zawadi. Zawadi, step in. What's on your mind? I mean, we're talking about, I mean, Zawadi, if you follow, we're talking about the whole economics of the whole subsidy thing. Things have changed a bit. Now Nigeria has got a local refinery in Nigeria that can take all the volume flow from the NNPC. It can refine locally. It can make a profit on the byproduct. It can pay a subsidy. So we shouldn't have lines, and there can be a subsidy. What's your take, Zawadi?
Good evening, everyone. Please, I have a simple question I just want to come to address. From what the government said, they said that Nigeria government has about 10% stake in Dangote, isn't it?
Yes.
Is it possible for Nigeria, for NNPC to give this crude oil to Dangote? Then instead of getting our return of 7% as profit from Dangote for investing 7% in Dangote stake, is it possible for government to use that our stake to subsidize, to pay for subsidy? That's what I would find. Is it possible?
Yeah, but the 7% stake is equity ownership. It's an equity. So that means that when Dangote sells or makes a profit, Nigeria will get 7% of whatever profited or 7% loss. So that's equity. But the Dangote refinery they can make the point I'm making is that if you give Dangote a barrel of crude oil, it's not just PMS he can make from that barrel of crude oil. So let him do the PMS, do the diesel, all that stuff, sell it, and then make a return back to the NNPC and say, for PMS, this is your profit. Then those funds go to a particular fund that is used to then pay for the subsidy.
Okay, thank you. I think that answers my question. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Idris, what's your mind?
Okay, good evening. My own opinion is on this issue of subsidy that you made mention of. So for me, I don't think this subsidy that you are proposing will work in Nigeria because of this our mentality, our corrupt mentality. I don't think it will work because it will be abused at the filling station because the fuel attendants and the filling station, the oil marketers are going to devise ways to hijack the whole thing, so the intended beneficiaries will not enjoy this subsidy that you are proposing. So for me, I think the best way to address the issue of high price of oil is for the government to roll out the CNG initiative, because when Tinubu said subsidy is gone, he stated that he's going to roll out, I think there is one initiative, presidential CNG initiative. So I think since Nigeria, because according to NUPRC data, Nigeria is more of a gas endowed nation than oil. So I believe the CNG initiative, if done in a serious way, can go a long way in reducing the cost of oil in the country. Also, agriculture, since one of the major drivers of inflation in Nigeria is food. So I think if government can intervene in the area of agriculture rather than subsidy on PMS, it will make more impact. So that is my take.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, Omar, if I may, so I think it can work. The issue of paying subsidy at the pump, it can work without human intervention, which would reduce corruption. And I give you, it can work tomorrow. Let me give you what I'm saying. Let me use you as an example, sir. Do you have a cell phone, a smartphone? Do you have a smartphone?
Yes, I do.
Do you have a car?
Yes.
So the car has got a license plate, right?
Yes.
That means the car has got a VIN number, correct?
Yes.
So
vehicle
yeah, so all the government has to do is to say, when you go to your go back to your license, your licensing office, that VIN number is attached to your NIN. That's all. Attach the VIN number to your NIN, attach it to your phone, your NIN phone. So on that phone you have your NIN.
Okay, sorry, Mr. Kalu. The reason why I'm saying this, according to the presidential initiative, the SCM and liter of petrol, they are almost equivalent in terms of energy content. So the price of this CNG, compressed natural gas,
No, I'm coming. I'll get to CNG.
is way lower than that.
I'll come to see. We can't do CNG today because we have no infrastructure. Even though CNG is cheaper, we can't roll out CNG in the next 2 years. There's no infrastructure for it. We have to take these buses, build filling stations, build repair stations, do pricing and all that. It has to be a rollout. That's one thing on CNG. I'm not debating if it's good. I'm just saying we can't do it tomorrow. This idea, give this fuel subsidy one more thing, we can do it tomorrow. Like I told you, you take your phone is attached to your VIN number, your VIN number is attached to your license plate. The government will ask you to open up a Nigerian e-wallet account. The government will say, okay, what kind of car is it? For the VIN number, they know the kind of car it is. If you are driving an SUV, you don't qualify. If you're driving a small Toyota or you are a commercial driver, you qualify. The government can say we're going to pay you 5,000 or 10,000 naira through e-naira to that phone. Only that phone. You take your phone, you receive the money. You go to the filling station, you want to buy gas, you can pay cash or you can take that e-naira and pay to the filling station through their app. They will receive the e-naira, they redeem it through Ministry of Finance or whatever, and they get their money back. It can work seamlessly without any human interface. All the government has to do is to say, do you have a VIN? Do you want to qualify? Go and apply. That's all. We use technology and we solve this. End of story. So this is the point I'm making. The subsidy the way we're running today is fraudulent. That's why you see the figures like that's why I shared that Twitter. It's going up and down. There's no correlation with demand and supply. This year, if we're near elections, fuel subsidy goes up. So there's no correlation. That's the point I'm making.
All right.
And again, CNG is good. We have more gas than crude oil. The point is we can't roll CNG out tomorrow. Remember, the president said CNG on day one. CNG buses was day one. Today, we still don't have CNG buses. So it's not a quick fix.
But I think the issue of this CNG lack of infrastructure is more of a lack of commitment from the government. Because I believe if the government is committed, I think we will have achieved more than this. Because there is one station, NIFCO. They have done a lot in this area of CNG. They have established so many stations.
I hear you.
If a private entity like NIFCO can do that, out of the government.
So I hear you. I hear you completely. I hear you completely. So last point, I hear you completely, but there's no infrastructure. Innocent has gas-powered buses, but there is no infrastructure. If that bus gets spoiled in Biu, in Meduguri, or gets spoiled in Abakileke, who would fix it? Do the mechanics know how to fix a CNG bus? This is the point I'm making. You have to have the local infrastructure. You know how when your tire is bad, every organizer knows where to fix, where to pump. You need that for CNG. You need to have local people that on the ground in a local village can fix it. Otherwise, it's going to be like a very, very unique thing and it will not be available for mass transit. This is the point I'm making, sir. I agree with you, but we can't roll it out in 24 months. It's not possible. It needs to be rolled out over, yeah. Okay, let's go to Ajay. Idris, I appreciate those comments.
But you know, all this year, okay, so can I comment?
Yeah. Real quick, go ahead.
Hello?
Go ahead.
Okay, this CNG models we are talking about, I think most of the vehicles that are designed to run on CNG, they are not solely running on PMS alone. They also run on, they don't run on CNG alone. They are dual. They are dual in nature. That means they can run on CNG and also PMS. So I think it will reduce the burden on the government. Yes, I agree that infrastructure cannot be established within 1 or 2 years, but at least if there is commitment, the burden on government to subsidize the cost of our PMS will significantly be reduced because these vehicles are designed to run on dual fuel, CNG, and also PMS. So if the government is committed,
Okay.
I think.
Okay, Idris, just a last word on this, right? It's not a responsible plan for a government to say that we're going to increase fuel prices and the palliative is CNG buses that you don't make, you don't have. CNG buses need time to be purchased, to be localized, to be deployed, to be operational. You increase PMS prices immediately. Then you say, wait, we're bringing CNG buses. That's not the plan. The CNG buses should be a long-term plan for Nigeria because Nigeria has got more gas than petroleum. Not just for Nigeria, for West Africa. If we can imagine if Nigeria can get West Africa hooked in quote on Nigerian gas, that would mean that our currency in Naira will always be strong because all the other countries would have to buy Naira to buy Nigerian gas. And like you said, gas is cheaper than petrol. So imagine if Mali, Burkina Faso, Ivory Coast, Sierra Leone was using Nigerian gas or were all using CNG cars. Then every month you've got to buy Naira because you've got to buy that gas the same way Russia has done with Europe. That's how Nigeria should be thinking. It's not a short-term plan to say you are going to increase PMS price and replace with CNG. But that's why we don't have the buses today. We don't have the buses today. You just can't wake up and replace the PMS-driven economy with a CNG-driven economy. It wouldn't work. Even in Europe that has the best government, look at how Germany is struggling to replace Russian gas with imported gas. Same Germany. Are we more efficient than them, less efficient than them or whatever? But you can't just change an economy. In my village, there are mechanics that know how to fix a petrol car. Which mechanic would then be training that same guy on a CNG car? It is different. So, Idris, I appreciate the comment. Let me get Aji in here. Aji MIT, you've got the floor. Please go ahead. Idris, I appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks, Carlo. Sorry, before I ask my question, I just need like 2 data points to make a confirmation. First, do you think that Dangote's refinery, the output from Dangote's refinery is enough to service Nigeria's demand alone, local demand?
Not just enough, it's enough for Nigeria and West Africa. I would even say Africa is enough, yeah. By far.
Okay, fine. Now, so if you listen to, bro, please just put down this. So if you, according to Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala's book, which is Fighting Corruption in Nigeria is Dangerous, in one of the leaves there, the entire investigation that was done, the one that was it Farouk or so thereabouts, that himself entangled in Xenon oil and so on. That thing that should be $10 setup and so on. At the end of that exercise, about 40-something marketers were indicted in that very book, and the total fraud that was identified to be recovered from these marketers was about 1.something trillion. I stand to be corrected, but that's what that book says. That's the entire noise that led to this whole agitation of let's remove subsidy. So out of the entire investigation, 1 point something trillion was the outcome of that very investigation. 1 point something trillion. So if the inefficiencies in the government and the inability to account for the subsidy payment led to the fact that Tinubu removed subsidy, the only thing that Nigerians are benefiting from government, if that is the reason why they had to remove it, do you think it's sufficient for Tinubu to remove subsidy than looking for an alternative to deal with the accountability issue?
So, that's a question I've been talking about all week. If you go on my TL, I've tried to I've tried to do a series of tweets on why Nigeria cannot afford a subsidy. Actually, look at it very plainly. If you look at the chart I posted from 2005 to date. When Obasanjo, I'm going to have you mute, yeah. When Obasanjo was in power, the Nigerian foreign reserves were nearly $60 billion. That was the richest Nigeria has been since the return of democracy. Nigeria not only had high foreign reserves, but had working refineries. So when oil prices went up during Obasanjo's period, we were able to maintain a subsidy payment because we had the money. From Obasanjo's period to the time of Goodluck Ebele Jonathan was told by Okonjo-Iweala, who was the coordinator minister of the economy, that subsidy payments are unsustainable because what was going on was NNPC is making payments and thus reducing their contributions to FARC. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala told Goodluck two things. Number one, scrap the subsidy, take the money and create a fund which you can then use as intervention towards critical sectors of the economy, like health, like education, like infrastructure. And number two, create a savings, the excess crude account. That's what you stopped at the excess crude account. The governor said the excess crude account was unconstitutional. So the money in the ECA, which was a savings from the PMS subsidy removal, then the 50% then had to be shared, and then we then created a sovereign wealth fund. So if you backtrack way back to 2011, it was already unsustainable to maintain a PMS subsidy. Nigeria couldn't afford it because the economy wasn't really expanding. If you then come to, hold on. If you then come to Buhari, what did Buhari do? Buhari also could not afford a subsidy. But what Buhari did was to print money. He printed the dollar equivalent of 50 billion United States dollars. So he paid a subsidy, and he paid for that subsidy by printing the dollar equivalent of 50 billion. When Tinubu became president, Tinubu met literally an empty treasury. So him saying removal of subsidy, he had no choice. He had to remove the subsidy. Where he has failed, Tinubu has failed that in his own actions, he's like a man that has come into a house that is broke. He's not behaving like a broke man. He's behaving like a kid with a trust fund when he has no trust fund. That's the way he's having a problem. If Tinubu had removed subsidy, did not buy a jet means nothing in the scheme of things. Look at the cost of a jet doesn't mean anything. The cost of a yacht doesn't mean anything. But the optics matter. You can't remove subsidy, put Nigerians to suffer, then buy a jet. People will say it's your jet that you are buying, and that's what people are saying. That's why Tinubu's message of sacrifice is not leaving Aso Rock. It's self-centered for him to do those things because optics matter. Actually, you've got the floor.
All right, thank you very much. So, what I'm simply saying here is, if Tinubu, who complained about $15 billion, which Buhari printed as 20-something trillion, if he had maintained the same exchange rate that we had at the time that he assumed office, the subsidy payments that he's making at the moment would have been less, which I know that you and I will have had a back and forth on this very conversation. Now, there are 4 things I outlined on this very chart for you. So here are my questions. I posted these questions. I don't know if you have them. Can you please help me check? There are 4 things that I put up in the questions, and the first one that says, if NNPC, who has claimed that they've not paid any subsidy to any marketer, my question now is, first, who is federal government actually paying the subsidy to? That's the first one. The second one, when you started this session, you said that the landing cost of the fuel of the PMS is the baseline price of PMS. And I'm asking you now, in one of your comments, you also said that because the only cost that will differentiate between producing fuel locally by Dangote is the importation cost, which importation and probably logistics and so on and so forth. So my question to you now is, why then are you using the landing cost as the baseline cost, even when there's a difference between producing it locally versus importing the fuel? Because there's a difference between the two, and which you've also agreed that the difference between the two is importation cost. Again, you said the importation cost is not material to make a difference in the pricing. And I said, even if it is not material to make a difference in the pricing, there is nothing stopping government from subsidizing this fuel directly to Dangote, which ordinarily we now know clearly that this is the one man or one source where this refinery is actually coming out, the PMS is coming out from. Why can't Tinubu's government get this thing subsidized and let's breathe? Because this whole thing is choking. That's my two questions to you. Thank you.
So the first question is, you are asking, because the NNP, because the federal government is not paying a subsidy, who are they paying the subsidy to? I explained, the subsidy payments are made by NNPC, by not reverting money to the FARC. NNPC is supposed to submit 10 naira to FARC. They submit 1 naira. That 9 naira is the subsidy payment. So you will not see any federal government budget with subsidy or any state. That's why I said the federation, not the federal government pays subsidy. The federation pays. So the states, local and federal pay the subsidy, not the federal government. NNPC is owned by the
budget of 5.4 trillion in the budget.
That's the federal budget you are speaking about, sir. I'm talking about the federation. NNPC is owned by the federation, not the federal government. NNPC sells oil on behalf of the federation. It remits money to the federation. What is happening today, sir, is that the NNPC is retaining the revenues to pay for the subsidy. So NNPC themselves have told the federation, we cannot continue like this. Read the NNPC's own statement. They are saying we cannot continue to pay the subsidy because it will eat into our capital. Now it's in our revenue side, it's soon going to creep in and into our capital. So that's a settled matter. It's not a debate. The subsidy is being paid. Reuters has reported 3.5 billion. It's being paid. So the question is, how is it being paid? By the NNPC not remitting to FARC. FARC is federation. NNPC is federation, not federal government. So that answers your first question. The second question, the baseline price. Remember, we're talking pre-Dangote and after Dangote. Before there was a Dangote refinery, the baseline cost of PMS in Nigeria is what comes into NNPC at the ports in Nigeria. So if NNPC brings in PMS, it will say landed cost. You see that PRA template. The landed cost, they will tell you how they actually got that landed cost. You will see crude oil, you will see insurance, you will see demurrage, you will see lighting and all those. Then they give you a landed cost. That was pre-Dangote, and that was the landed cost, the import cost. The point I am making is now that with the Dangote, you will cancel most of those costs because there is no transportation anymore. There is no transport from Delta State to Netherlands or Delta to Malta. You will simply have Delta to Lagos. So there is still a transport cost, but it has reduced. The cost of refining is the same in Lagos and Malta or Netherlands, but the cost of insurance is also the same. Dangote is going to pay for insurance in dollars for its refinery, the same way the refinery in Netherlands or Malta is also paying for insurance in dollars. The real cost difference for you with the Dangote refinery is that import transport cost, import, export, demurrage cost. That's what you don't have with the Dangote refinery. Every other cost is still there. He's paying in naira, but he's paying the dollar exchange rate in Naira. He has no real sales on that front. That's why the price is not going to come down materially. Literally, the NNPC, and I'm quoting the NNPC MD here. The NNPC MD said that cost I've quoted is 20 Naira. He said it's 18 or so. I just write up to 20 Naira. So NNPC MD himself, I posted on my team, look for the chat, June 2023. He said the cost of local refining, what you save, is 20 Naira per liter. That's what he's saying. So that's the difference. So it's not my figure. This is NNPC, Reuters, and also the Federation returns actually. Hope that helps.
All right, thanks.
You're very welcome. Let's get Samuel. Samuel Aka, you've got the floor, sir. Samuel, aka Big Sam, aka Shocker. Lots of names. Samuel, go for it. All right, Samuel isn't ready yet. Let's go to ProTech.
Oh, can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Samuel, yes, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, good evening to you, sir. Good evening to your listeners. I have two quick points and one question.
Yeah, go for
The
it.
first point, in as much as I agree with you, as regards that's subsidy for low-income earners.
Yeah.
Not just the owner of a Mercedes-Benz, Range Rover, even a Rolls Royce to go and buy a Toyota Corolla or began to just to benefit from that subsidy.
Yeah, do
In
that.
the kind of way some Nigerians are. That's my first point. The second point, I think as regards this subsidy thing, what I see Dangote's refinery helping us do is to determine the actual amount of fuel we buy or consume in this country. You know, there was a time there's this dispute between the former custom boss with NNPC as regards the amount of fuel that is being imported to the country. So I think with the refinery, it helps to give the exact amount that we consume or buy in this country. Then my question is in the news that to an extent that the refinery will help us save like 40% FX for sourcing for FX to buy PMS. So my question is, to an extent, most of the funds, you say 15 billion in the use, they say 20 billion they're using building a refinery. He still has to repay back. So if now he's selling locally here, the AGO, jet fuel, and the rest, would he still come back to the market to source for FX to repay part of that loan to the foreign entities he collected loan from, like Afreximbank and the rest? Thank you.
Yeah, but okay, so there are two things there, right? So number one, I like you look at the main point I'm going to. There has to be an attitudinal change and a consumption change amongst Nigerians as regards this fuel scarcity. We have to also change. I get it's easy to blame the government, but Nigerians have got to come to the Jesus moment and realize that we're not a very, very rich people. We're not rich in Nigeria. There is no reason why Nigerians should be driving SUVs and Range Rovers. If you can afford it, drive it. But we can't afford it. We have been subsidized to drive Range Rovers, SUVs, and Prado. That's why we drive it. There is no real, like if my dad gives me £1 million a month and I'm a student, I will live in a boys' quarter. I'll buy, when I mean big, luxury flats in school. I buy flat screen TV. I have 3 cars as a student. That's not real life, Unless my dad takes away that £1 million, I can only see what I really can spend on. Everybody in Nigeria wants to buy an SUV. We say the roads are bad. I get it, but can we afford it? The same way, that footballer from Nigeria that bought a plane. The plane was very cheap to buy, but the maintenance is what made him go bankrupt. If you buy a 6-cylinder, 12-cylinder car, that's more gas. If you can afford it, more power to you. Buy it and drive it. But if you can't afford it, if you are working in the bank, your first car is a second-hand Prado. We have to change that mentality. You've got to go to your Toyotas, to your Hondas, to your Innocents, to your Nords, the ones that have a local, smaller capacity engine. That's where I'm going to with this. If you are a big man, you have a Range Rover, and you want to go and buy a Toyota to get the fuel, that's well and good. But how many of you will do that? The point is that the poor people, in quote, will get the subsidy. We can't pay subsidy for everybody. We can't afford it. So if your car, same thing your generator. If you have a generator that is 2.5 kVA, you register the generator, you get the money to buy cheap fuel for that generator. If you have a big 12 kVA or diesel generator, you don't get a subsidy. You're a big boy. Buy big boy diesel and move on. To your second point about the Dangote, that 40% figure, I don't know where they got that 40% figure. Dangote is not going to reduce the demand of forex by 40%. I don't know where the people are getting that figure from. Remember that if Dangote pays for crude oil in naira, what has immediately happened is that NNPC has lost crude oil revenues in dollar. So you must balance both of them. If he pays in dollar, then NNPC gets dollar. If he pays in naira, then NNPC does not get dollar. So something has to balance the equation. Let's even assume, okay, he pays in naira and blah blah, and we move on. Where is the 40% seems to come from? You see that are we seeing that diesel alone, PMS alone, was what made the demand for dollar to go up by 40%? That's what we're saying. What about education and health? Those are the two invisibles that we don't see. Once schools open in UK, dollar will rise in Nigeria. That's what's going on. Once schools are about to open, dollar will go up. So how many consumption? The biggest thing we import in Nigeria is food, right? If you look at what we spend in Nigeria, we spend 5-7% on food. We spend less than 10% of petroleum products. This is the expenditure report from Nigerian Bureau of Statistics. So fuel is everywhere. It's a very sexy thing to say. You see fuel lines. But the average household spends more on food than fuel. The average household in Nigeria. So where is the subsidy for food? I've run many polls. Ask anybody let me subsidize food for you. Let me subsidize fuel for you. We'll see which one they will choose. It's only on Twitter. People will tell you that they want subsidy on fuel and not food. Doesn't make any sense. We're paying more to subsidize fuel than health, education, infrastructure combined. Let me say it again. We're subsidizing more on fuel than health, education, and infrastructure combined. We can't continue that, Samuel. I get the point.
That means, in essence, this refinery will not help us, whether in the short, medium term, to help us improve the value of the naira.
What the refinery will do is improve the value of the naira by exports. Dangote is going to export a ton of petroleum products. So your non-oil imports, or whatever you want to term as Dangote, is going to go up. Your export earnings is going to go up, which will make your naira stronger. If your naira is stronger, the price of your PMS will fall. That's how Dangote will do it. It's not going to be that the Dangote refinery would reduce the price of your PMS. Rather, when Dangote starts to export the urea, the petrochemicals, the diesel in large quantities, the export earnings for Nigeria goes up, the naira goes up, then the cost that you are paying will fall because your naira will have more value. Your petroleum price is high today, not because it's being refined outside Nigeria. It's because your naira value is weak. It's an exchange rate subsidy. It's not a PMS subsidy. If crude oil price today goes to $3, your PMS price will fall, with or without the refinery. You can import the petroleum cheaper than Dangote if crude oil price was $5 a barrel. You are paying more because the exchange rate and the oil price are up. So Dangote is not here. The refinery is not going to reduce your prices. No. It is the export earnings that should make the naira stronger that would help you. Does that help someone?
Yes, it does. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Let me get Mr. Mike. Mr. Mike, you've got the floor.
Yeah, good evening, everyone.
How you doing, sir?
Mine is not a question. Or let me say it's a question in another way, because I would like to understand something. First of all, I'd like to ask us, when do we begin to believe in this administration or the government of the NNPC, precisely? For them to say that we save only 20 naira to have a domestic refinery operating. You have to explain to me like a 1 year child for me to believe that only 20 naira can be said to operate a domestic refinery. That is one. And secondly, I want to know why is it that the refinery we are having in Nigeria, Dangote refinery to be precise now, is coming to be, and we are seeing forces fighting it. If there is no interest attached to it, the people who I know that are being in charge of importing and exporting of crude oil, or importing our PMS that we use and exporting crude oil, are slightly behind the reason why we are seeing Dangote refinery is being frustrated. Whether we like it or not, we have to tell ourselves the truth. Because if there is no benefit from anybody or by anybody making exporting of crude oil, Nigeria, as it stands like this now, would have been refining oil with our own national refineries, like the Port Harcourt refinery, the Warri refinery, and the Kaduna refinery. Because there are interests, and that's the reason why even the Dangote refinery that would have come to help in this situation is now being frustrated. Now, if we must tell ourselves the truth, we have to know that the only fight we can fight in this country is to make sure that Dangote refinery never fails. Because Dangote will have his own refinery, build it his money, and be telling us that NFPC will determine the price. To tell you that there are people that are giving such condition for him to speak out. Now, why I'm saying this is because I don't belong to the maybe let me say the economic team of the presidency that is determining how the naira will go up or go down. But what I have seen from all this is that Dangote refinery must not be a Nigerian refinery, but a Nigerian man-owned refinery will have a whole lot to affect the economy of Nigeria. If Dangote is profiting in Nigeria with its refinery, there is every tendency that Nigeria itself will be benefiting. Sending PMS out of this country for other countries in the West Africa, like he said, will bring in money to Nigeria, and probably they will be buying in dollars. And we're talking about how we're going to have naira being coming up and then crashing out the dollar cost in Nigeria. If dollar is coming from exporting of our refined petrol into Dangote's account, it mustn't be Nigeria's account. It's going to help in that. And then if Nigeria is now having no reason to buy PMS from outside the country using dollar, it will make the demand for dollars to be low. We'll be having dollar coming in, and we'll not be having reason to send out dollar. Now, this is a simple mathematics that I understand. But if I don't understand that, I think I should be enlightened. That other people can understand also.
Yeah, Mr. Mike, if you can also, folks that are listening, I just shared a tweet I did on September the 4th. I just shared it again. It's titled "The Process of Getting PMS from Crude." So, Mr. Mike, let me try to walk you through the point I'm making. Let me mute you. Yeah. So there are 5 processes to get crude or PMS from crude. 5, and they're the same anyway. It's not a technical topic. It's number 1, we have to extract the crude. Number 2, we have to transport the crude from where we extracted it to a refinery. Number 3, we have to refine that crude. Number 4, we have to take that refined PMS, right? And then number 5, we have to market. These are the steps that will happen in America, in Togo, in Nigeria, in China. These 5 steps, there's no difference. It's not technical, just processes. Now, if you go to number 1, extract crude oil. If Nigeria will still have the same cost of extraction today with the Dangote refinery and tomorrow with the Dangote refinery, with the cost we pay to extract crude oil does not depend on if we have a local refinery or not. So nothing will change there. It can go lower, but right now here we're about $48 a barrel to extract a barrel of crude in Nigeria. But it doesn't have an effect on the refinery, or the refinery will not have an effect on the cost of extracting a barrel of crude in Nigeria. So number 1 is there, it will remain the same. Number two is transporting the crude oil from where it's extracted to where it's going to be refined. This is where there will be a change. In the past, we were taking crude oil from Delta State, from Bayelsa State, from Edo State. We were taking to the Netherlands or to Malta to refine it to make it PMS. With Dangote refinery, number two will no longer happen. So the cost will fall down. The crude oil will be taken from the south to Lagos State. It will be refined in Lagos State. We're going to pay perhaps Naira for that. So that cost has gone. That's the savings. Number three is refine the the crude oil in the refinery. That cost will not change because it's a refining cost. If you refine it in Netherlands or refine it in Lagos, it's the same cost. I see folks saying, oh, cost of labor in Lagos is cheaper than cost in Netherlands. I get that, but what's the value of that labor to the total cost of refining a barrel of crude oil? The main cost is the crude oil. So that cost will not materially change if it's refined in a Dangote distillation line and the line in Netherlands. It will remain almost the same. So that is not going to change. Number four, take the PMS from the refinery to the market. That cost will change in Dangote because now we're not doing from Netherlands to Lagos. We're doing Lagos to Lagos. It's in an EPZ zone. So Dangote is going to pump his products from Lagos to tankers in Lagos or even by sea to ocean-going vessels, but in Lagos. So that cost will go down. And of course, number five is the market. That's now what NNPC does and all that. If you look at number one to number four, the only change you see there is transportation. Transportation from the crude place where it is drilled to the refinery and transportation of the refined PMS to the market. There's no other change you see there. There's no other change that's going to happen there, which is why the NNPC, and I quoted the NNPC MD's quote, again I tweeted it. He says that the cost of PMS will not materially change. This is the quote verbatim. I posted it again on my TL, so it's right there. And he gave a cost. That was I think it was Vanguard. It was on Arise TV. He said that the difference in cost is about 20 naira per barrel. What I mean 20 naira, don't look at it at 20 naira it's per liter, right? 20 naira, which means that that 20 naira is reflective in this cost, transportation and all. That's the 20 naira. Because Dangote refinery is not going to make it, even if Dangote refinery is cheaper to refine, is it more than 20% cheaper? It can't be more than 20% cheaper. It's not possible that the same chemicals used in Netherlands and Nigeria will be 20% cheaper in Nigeria. We don't make those chemicals in Nigeria to refine or to burn crude from crude oil to diesel or efficient fuel or PMS. That's where that thing is coming from, Mr. Mike. The real savings you are going to see is that Dangote now has 100% crude oil in Nigeria, which means he can refine it, and NNPC has more say in the sales. NNPC owns 7% of Dangote. So Dangote will say, you gave me 100,000 barrels of crude oil, I've refined PMS, I've refined bitumen, I've refined A1 fuel, I've refined kerosene. When I sold it, I made more money for you. So NNPC is going to get more money. When NNPC gets more money, their level of subsidy NNPC is paying today will fall because there's more money. Remember, go back to the chart. Obasanjo was paying very, very little for PMS subsidy because he had, number one, cash, and number two, oil prices were up. But he was paying less because NNPC was selling 2.2 million barrels a day. That extra volume is the sales revenues that he used to pay for subsidy. The problem we have today is that our volume is down to 1.6, 1.5. In that 1.6, 1.5, we cannot afford to pay subsidy because there's not enough money to pay subsidy and to remit money to FAC. Obasanjo was doing 2 million barrels a day. I shared the tweet also. Obasanjo was doing 2.23 million barrels a day. So you could afford to pay subsidy. Yar'Adua was doing 1.96 million barrels a day. You could afford to pay subsidy. Jonathan was doing 2 million barrels a day. He could afford to pay subsidy. Buhari was doing 1.5. This 1.5 is too high. Buhari was doing 1.1, 1.2. Buhari. So how could Buhari pay subsidy? He couldn't. But he was printing money, $50 billion equivalent, to pay for the subsidy. What is Tinubu doing? When Tinubu came to office, it was 1.2, 1.3. How can Tinubu pay subsidy on 1.2, 1.3 with the same subsidy that Obasanjo was paying with 2.2 million barrels of crude? So it's not a refinery issue, it's a volume issue, it's a resource issue. You have to increase your volume so you get more revenue to pay the subsidy and to also export. It's not as simple as just saying pay the subsidy. There's no money. Again, Tinubu has not held himself as a prudent manager of resources. That's why he cannot make this argument I'm making. If he can, he will put these same figures. These figures are out there in the public. But he can't do it because he bought a private jet. Unfortunately, that's just the reality. I hope you've been. I hope are you more educated now, sir? All right, let's move to Benga. Mr. Mike, I'm moving to Benga. What's your mind?
Okay, thank you, Carlo, for accepting my invite. This is my first time to space. I'll be listening for like a couple of months. Okay, so let me go straight to. I like your business model, and this shows that some people are thinking outside the box, which I expect the government of the day to be thinking the way you are thinking, which I really appreciate. But the only concern I have with the model is the fact, okay, you are trying to say, okay, let's subsidize the poor and leave the rich. Fantastic agreement. Anybody will agree with that. But if you look at the so-called big men, that is the rich people, you agree with me that when it comes to buying of fuel, all those kind of stuff, is being done by their drivers. So they don't even mind even register, even whatever, anything you want to register with their driver's name and get a bus. If we want to say, okay, somebody using downfall, for example, is going to have a subsidy. They can get like 10 buses in their compound, in their yard, and have their drivers go and get the fuel. So I'm looking at that might be some loophole in the business model you propose. So I'm just putting that forward just for us to think. So my second question is, okay, I'm not in Nigeria. I'm an international student. I left Nigeria, but some years back. So I remember then I used to fill Form A, and there was this concession of dollar given to us as a student. And back then, I remember clearly the rate that was given to us is not the same rate given to Dangote. Now, I don't think it's going to be fair to Nigerians to say, okay, the landing cost is this, so your own is minus logistic for bringing the core, so the rest is going to... No, it's not going to work that way. Because we Nigerians will sacrifice, we give you money. If you want to run your business as a 100% entity, then go and fund your what's called your company. Get your money from anywhere, not get the money from all over the world. But if we Nigerians, from our taxpayers' money, we gave you a concession, I don't think it's going to be fair to now say this is the landing cost minus logistic. Then we want to know there should be a clear rebate. There should be a clear concession Dangote needs to give to Nigerians now that his refinery is running. My third question, this one is going to go to Olumide. I saw Olumide additional. I'm very sorry, Olumide, for calling you out here, but I respect you so much. I also always like to listen to you. I want to ask, because I have this plan in mind that, okay, I'm going to get a Dangote share. Anytime it comes out, I'm going to buy. But lately, I've been battling like, does it going to make any sense? This man he said so, that he's battling with Kaba internationally, he's battling with Kaba locally, and I don't believe, and I don't want to think this is going to just go away. Do you also still think that buying such company share is going to be safe? I get the mic. Thank you.
Okay, some good questions there, Benga. Benga, look at it this way. Let me address your issue about the drivers and the guy trying to get the system. Let me make an overall statement. The problem in Nigeria with this whole PMS thing is that the government is involved in trying to do a business. The government should not be involved in this at all. NNPC, the federal government, the state, the local should not be involved in the import, distribution, storage, or whatever of diesel or petrol in Nigeria. They should not be. Nobody is subsidizing yam. There's no federal ministry of yams in Nigeria. There's no yam subsidy. But by buying and eating yams, it's expensive. While buying and eating yams, what should happen is this: the federal government's or the federation's only objective is the subsidy. Sorry, the welfare payments. They should allow Dangote and anybody bring in your PMS at whatever price you want to bring it in. That's for the market. The competition will determine the price there. What the federation should do is to say, we're going to do a means testing. If you earn below a certain amount of money, we will give you cash to pay for that diesel that you're going to buy. The private sector, via competition, will reduce the prices in the open market because we've opened it up for everybody. Dangote has a 650,000 barrel refinery, right? I can start a 1,000 barrel refinery, refine my own crude oil just for the people in my own local government area. I don't want to deal with Dangote. I don't want to deal with people in Lagos. I want to only supply petrol to the folks in my local government area. I will sell at my own price. The government should not tell me what price to sell. If people in my village want to buy from me, they buy from me. If they want to go outside, they go outside. That's how the free market should work. If you do it this way, the prices will start to fall naturally. The same way your phone, no matter how expensive your phone is, give it 1 year, the price will go down. It's not because your phone has lost value. Competition, more imports coming, more new phone models come. So your phone has got to reduce in price to keep up. Now, so that said, let's go to your point about the rich gaming system. Imagine how much a bus is. To buy a bus, even second-hand bus, because when you're going to tie that bus to your VIN, and the VIN is tied to your license, so the road safety can know that bus is functional. How much is a bus, and how much is PMS? Are you saying if I have money, I'll go and buy 5 buses, spend 5 million naira, so I can buy PMS at the pump for 800 naira? Doesn't make any sense. Where would I keep the bus? Why would I take 5 million and buy buses just so I can buy cheap PMS? If you are rich, you can afford to buy the 800 naira. The rich people in Nigeria don't complain about the price of PMS. They complain about the availability. It's the poor guys that have barbing salons that use PMS that are complaining. How can I was in Lagos February, right? I went to cut my hair. The guy told me I have to pay 10,000. So you pay 10,000 and then they put generator on to cut your hair. So you have to pay, then they'll go and put generator on. So to cut my hair, I'm an oil trader. It doesn't make any sense. And those are the guys that the subsidy should target, the SMEs. Everybody runs with a better pass in Nigeria. Market women cannot keep fish because it will spoil. They can't run kerosene lamp or cannot run generators that keep the food supply up and running. That is the role of the government, to go where there is weakness and provide the support. That's what they should do, not to import PMS. So all the money that they get from Dangote, they'll say, okay, we're going to earmark a 5% tax, super tax on all petroleum dealers. And that super tax goes to the subsidy. And this subsidy is going to go exactly the way it is performed. Poor people use kerosene. Rich people use jet A1 fuel. It's the same thing, but rich people fly by air. Poor people use kerosene. So you subsidize kerosene, you can subsidize PMS. Diesel, you can say, okay, it's a business input. People use diesel to manufacture. We can also come down and subsidize diesel for the textile guys so they stay in business, and then we can have more and more and more guys being employed. It's got to be a strategy. You simply can't say free market, do your thing. Again, when I remember at the very beginning, I told that the US farmers get subsidized diesel. The farmers in America are rich, but still the government gives them subsidized diesel so they can compete with the farmers from Russia, from Argentina, from Brazil. It's got to be a strategy. We can't have free market saying that the woman that sells bolly on the road should buy kerosene with the guy that has a private jet that uses the same kerosene. We can't have a country like that. There's your last point about Dangote giving concession. Listen, Dangote has invested 15 billion in Nigeria in this refinery alone. There are people, I grew up almost a time when Dangote was just an importer. When I mean just an importer, there were many people that were richer than Dangote when he was quote unquote just an importer. There were many people that did exactly what Dangote was doing when he was just importing rice and sugar. But only Dangote took the step to take that money he had made and start to invest in Nigeria. When Dangote started the cement factories, we had Lafarge, we had Cement Company of Nigeria, we had BCC Boko. What were they doing that they allowed this quote-unquote small boy build cement factories in Nigeria and become the largest cement dealer in the whole Nigeria? What were they doing? Do you know Dangote is a billionaire today because he sold 5% of Dangote cement? When I mean billionaire in dollar terms, he only sold 5 or so percent of Dangote cement. It's an offer for sale. So he didn't create new shares. He sold what he owned, 5% dollar billionaire. Because Nigeria's rich people don't invest in Nigeria. Do you know there are 37 refineries that were issued before Dangote? This same refinery that Dangote license Dangote got, there are 37 big men that also have refining license. Why did they not invest? They are waiting for my brothers in government so he will protect me. The same people waiting for God to protect them. Before Dangote, the biggest refinery was one in Niger Delta, owned by the guy that was at ED in Shell. He also invested. So where were the other big men? Why did they not invest? So I think he has done his own. Like he was talking out of anger. Dangote has tried. We can accuse him of being a robber baron or being monopoly, but show me the other big man that's investing the same way he's investing now. When you show me, then we can debate. So we have to cut the guys some slack. He got money from central bank to invest in the refinery, but people got money from central bank and bought private jets in this same country. At least we are seeing Dangote refinery. Do you know what the wahala would be if we had no Dangote refinery in this country? If that refinery was not in this country today, fuel would be 3,000 naira and you guys will be begging to buy it. So I get your sentiments, but let's cut the guys some slack.
Okay, so thank you. I don't want to interrupt you, but I have some follow-up stuff. So, for example, still talking about your the subsidy model. If the previous model, and I've had a lot of argument, people saying that we don't consume the actual volume people claim that we are consuming in Nigeria. Now, if you come with this model and say, okay, let's subsidize for the poor with this model you describe, and our borders are still porous, people can still take fuel out of here and take it to Cameroon, take it to Benin Republic. Do you think it's still going to be effective, or do you think it's going to link like the main problem is not that I don't think the problem is not to subsidize the rich, whatever. Is the major volume. Anytime there's a scarcity in Nigeria, there will be scarcity of fuel in Benin Republic. Don't you ask why?
Yeah, but that's the point, Mega, that if you take your NIN phone, your NIN phone is pinging a cell station in Nigeria. So you can only get that subsidized diesel with your NIN phone attached to your VIN, attached to your license plate in Nigeria. So if I go to Chad, if I'm near the border, my cell phone is not going to ping to Nigeria. So you can't pay the e-naira. You're not paying with cash, you're paying with e-naira. It won't work because it's not. That's why I'm paying it. That's what I'm saying. It's not.
I get the fuel. Now, let's say I get the fuel from filling station, or unless you're telling me that, okay, with my NIM, I can get more than a particular volume or liters per day.
Let me repeat what I'm saying again. You take your smartphone that has an NIN. Your NIN has a BVN. You take your car license plate. Your license plate has got your VIN. You put all these four together. You apply for subsidy. The federal government will send you money, cash. It can be 5,000 to your e-naira wallet. Not cash, e-naira wallet. You take your phone with your e-naira wallet. You go to a place in Ikeja. You buy fuel. You say, I want to pay with 1,000 naira e-naira wallet. The guy will give you a card. You click, you've paid 1,000 from your wallet. How? You can't do that outside Nigeria. Because
so meaning that's already limit what I can get.
Not just the limit. You are paying e-naira BVN. So a guy in Benin, Cameroon, Niger doesn't have those. You have to be in Nigeria to get a name with a BVN. You have to be in Nigeria, and your car has your car also. You just can't go and buy. You are buying based on a VIN linked to a car. So the car has got to be in Nigeria, registered to a person. So you can't have 5 people because it is the person's name on the VIN that has to match the BVN, that has to match the NIN. So a rich man cannot, unless a rich man will say he will buy car for you, hallelujah. Let them go to buy 100 cars for people so he can get cheap fuel. Hallelujah for those people. You get the point I'm making. So in essence, the car is linked to the person is linked to the bank account. You go to the pension and you pay with INA what the government will give you. The INA is coming from the proceeds of a tax on Dangote and all refineries. So that's how you fund the subsidy, social security payment. Let fuel be 10,000 naira a barrel, a liter. It doesn't matter. The poor will pay with the e-naira. So you eliminate the smuggling. If the people from Togo want to come and buy this in Nigeria, let them come and buy. It's 10,000 naira later. Don't open the border up. Bring your truck. Come in and buy. But if they want, if they can break, if Togo wants to open a bank account in Nigeria, put it in Nigeria, buy a car in Nigeria, register it, and get that money. Hallelujah. It's more revenues to the federal government and the states that they do it from. It's the same way we go to America. Don't we go to America and we pay for some things to get some things? Exactly.
I like this perspective of the in-eras that the route took me to. I think it makes sense. You can control things from that angle, really. Yeah.
All right.
You can control things. So I think Olumide want to say something about this talk. Sorry.
Yes, he is here, so he can speak on that. Olumide, you've got the floor, sir.
I just came in because you said everything I wanted to say, and I just wanted to affirm most of the things you highlighted. I think we live in a society of entitlement where the ruling class has really amplified the addiction to luxury in a system where distrust is at its high. Because naturally, if you look at the way different systems work, the oil industry is deregulated. Even in Saudi Arabia, that we say that they sell cheap fuel, they have a way they do these things. You know, they do it so efficiently that the amount of money they spend in subsidy is going to about $2 trillion a year. I think I did that data in 2022. So the problem we have is that our government is not efficient, our government is not accountable. Just like you said, why would the president at this time be buying a private jet? Why would the CBN team be chasing after the car? These are things that really create a lot of uproar, because the efficiency of the market will tell you that even the fact that crude oil is sold in naira, it does really no big deal. The only thing is that the crush of him going through the FX market, that's not the chasing to that. But for the economy and for the market to be efficient, it has to be priced at the equivalent. And also, people need to also understand that Dangote is not the sole owner of Dangote refinery. Locally mentioned how Dangote makes money by this. You need to understand that there are co-investors in that business too, and they did not do that business for charity. We also need to also understand that a $20 billion project must have gone through a series of creditors, which is going to be accountable to. So the spirit of entitlement, we should stop. And for me, listing, I think Dangote has known how to do his listing with investment bank, just like the Medusa and Otella. They know how to do these things. But my major concern is that, people like Kalula should be on the phone talking on these things. When a lawyer, or I'm not discounting other professions, but when a lawyer that has this understanding of how oil markets work start making this kind of statement on TV, different scenarios come to play, misinformation and fraud. But look at how I've been listening to a lot of people's comments, and it's not that these people are saying things out of ignorance, but they feel that, because we have crude oil, oil should be cheap. Oil is not cheap any part of the world. Even in Iran, there are prices these guys, the way they do this thing. That's why Iran smuggles Iran smuggle refined to Pakistan. There is a way, you see, when you subsidize something, there's a price you must pay. And we must realize those things, that the time of fixing crude oil, petrol has gone. Nigeria is broke as hell. See, I was looking at the money supply data. I won't be surprised if Ways and Means is back, even aggressively, because look at it. Our our budget, we cannot even make the money an average S&P 500 is making. So where are we getting those for? So back to discussion, that refinery is a big deal, biggest private investment since 1999. I won't take it back to the early 70s. But you also need to look at the fact that it's also going to the supply chains, the secondary market, and other things will open up, which is a big deal for Nigeria. But we are going to experience more pains in terms of energy costs. That's the reality. Except crude oil prices go down. Maybe if the Democrats Sobia of the US, if it comes to power, because definitely renewables will come to play, and many countries are already facing out fossil, like France, China. They're saying by 2050 they will start heavy restrictions on. Maybe that's when we can enjoy cheap fuel, but it's going to come at a cost because Nigeria is not a diversified economy. So we have to face reality. Do we want cheap fuel and want the naira to be dancing like a dragon, or you want market efficient products to reach all these OPEC finances? Because NNPC, as far as I'm concerned, it's a cartel in my own because their books are not clear. They will say something today, they will change it, and this is why I don't really trust accountants. Sorry to say, because you see, one of the things I've learned in financial markets is that one of the problems we have is that we hide behind audit. We say, okay, no 10, no 20, no all this notes. I don't really read them because PwC audited NNPC results. And I spoke with a lot of well-grounded financial professionals, and they told me that, see, this result, what these people are saying, it does not really reflect on the reality of the result. But you see, we need to have a conversation on why the government is still running systemic entities. NNPC has shown that they cannot be efficient. We need to see them in the market. And people are saying that, it's not possible for you to list. We need the framework. The PIB that want to law on this thing. How many of the things are they implemented? So, good work. I just feel like we need to allow the right information to get into the market. We cannot live on fixed pricing anymore. It's not possible.
I mean, the best thing, we have to move on, right? The best thing we can do is to say, open this thing up, make it private, make it transparent. Why are we debating about figures? On my DM, people are sending me figures, Snapchat, this one. We don't need to DM in figures. We own the oil. You and I own the oil. So we need to have it clear. The same way everybody knows banks make profit, Abi. So we say windfall taxes. Why can't we know what NNPC is making? What is an our account they are posting? We need to see things clearly so that we can take decisions. Many people in Nigeria believe that this subsidy thing is affordable, that it's just corruption that is causing us not to pay this. Again, I don't want to talk to. I don't want to. They will say they are defending Tinubu. We can't afford this thing. We can't afford it.
Can you know the problem? The problem started with the optics around the federal government. And that's the most painful thing. Because, when I write a lot of articles, the feedback I get is that, why is the CBN team now buying bulletproof vehicles? Where did the president get $150 million to buy a jet? You can't say anything.
Because they are right.
Yes,
they're right.
So I'm going to drop now. I'm going to drop because I'm out of time. But before I drop, let me make some comments which I would like to react to. Then I'll drop. First, he said they have sense of entitlement. I don't think that is correct. In the sense that if Dangote, I start by what I said, if Dangote get a concession from CBN, allegedly, if it's confirmed,
it's confirmed. I confirm he got it. Yes, I confirm he got it.
If he confirmed it, it is wrong. I say it is wrong to say a sense of entitlement because this is all Nigerians. It is all Nigerian fund that was given to the woman.
He didn't get this money for. So again, he didn't get this money. He didn't get money, and he went and bought a yacht in Malta. He got money to invest. He got money to invest and has invested. He got money to invest in Nigeria. Many people got money. See, there's a guy in. Let's not open our EK here. There's a guy in America that owns. Let me not talk.
let me make you laugh. The same government that gave him concession almost during the year.
The same government.
Let me give you a good example. There was a state deal. Was it Ogun State or Odo State? When he lost $500 million because of land, he had to pay the bank. He said it now.
I will not in court. I will not in court today that the Chinese firm has seized Nigerian jets. Why did the Chinese firm seize Nigerian jets? Because
exactly.
So again, and let me make
what I say about concession. You are talking about. Do you know how much that guy has lost? Do you know the politics? That's what I wrote it on. I said, see, if you know how difficult it is to run businesses in Nigeria, you give the likes of Dangote to name you Otedola. These things are beyond calculus or normal financial analysis. It takes gut, it takes blood, it takes so much.
Okay, hold on. Last point on this. We have a refinery in Malta, owned, whether it is owned only percent by a Nigerian or group of Nigerians. Why didn't those Nigerians build that Malta refinery in Nigeria? Why did they go to Malta to build it?
Let me be honest with you. I've been to that place. In fact, I stayed there for a while, so I know you can't really call it a refinery.
Whatever it is, why didn't they bring that thing to Nigeria? So I mean, Dangote at least is in Lagos. At least what he has is in Lagos. Abi, why did they bring this to Lagos?
Can I chime in?
Chime in.
All right, guys. Thank you. Very interesting discussion going on. Part of the challenges, we all know that we have a lot of challenges in the country. Part of the challenges in everything in Nigeria revolves around our procurement process. The procurement process is treated like CIA, FBI, like it is so secret. It is done in so much secrecy. Listen, if you go to, I'm in Houston right now, and if you go to sam.gov and register, you're not an American citizen, you're not a resident, you're in Nigeria, but you want to do contract with every goddamn thing America buys. CIA, FBI, Army, Air Force is listed, it is advertised there. For crude oil, I just went there, I just put in, some deep sea freight bottle, and you see the Navy handles that for if they're transporting, cargo of oil to maybe their facilities around the world. They're going to put it out there. We need to do a time charter, 90 days, 100, 120 days, 1 year time charter for vessel. People are going to compete for this thing. We want to move, we need to buy 2 million liters of PMS. People are going to come. NNPC wants to micromanage everything. Let's take templates that has worked in Nigeria. The embeds, the bulk trader for utility, for power. The bulk trader sets a price. We want to buy power at 20 cents per kilowatt. Anybody, we're going to run our bid. Anybody that can supply us at 20 cents per kilowatt, you have a contract. We need to have a bulk trader for petroleum that is not answerable to the NNPC and GMP. We need to have a Nigerian petroleum bulk trader, unit, just like they try to do PPRA. But PPRA has to answer to NNPC and the minister. We need to separate them. The bulk trader should work like the power bulk trader. If you're going to give us at 1 naira per liter of fuel, you have a contract. What it does is that it helps both the importers and the locals. If you're going to set up a refinery, because in trying to make your project bankable, before you produce, you need to be sure that you've sold. The bulk trader can tell you, guarantee the guys that want to go into refining, we're going to give you a 20-year contract or 10-year contract, but you have to guarantee us at this price. This is the right price. We need to, start practicalizing things and not NNPC GMD coming on the table. I mean, why is it going to still be there up till now? Yes,
that's a mystery.
These other guys, he did whatever he did for the election.
Are you aware he has paid himself pension and gratuity while sitting in office?
It is so crazy. I mean, listen, it is so crazy. And he's coming to the TV and be talking like he's some, some Bill Gates. So from Elon Musk, I mean, people are looking at a very corrupt imbecile that is coming to pontificate
Language. Let's keep it language.
Yeah. So those are the kind of things. He doesn't have the moral, the operational, the administrative competence to come to tell Nigerians that this is this. We need, there are things the president needs to do. He needs to change the captains of these industries.
Good luck with that.
Whatever he has done, he has overpaid him. This guy needs to be out. Anyway.
Let's see what happens. Thank you.
They need to be out.
Let's see.
If we're gonna make this work, this thing, the guys that want to go into manufacturing, that is in refining, they need to have a kind of some level. We need to have an embed that will guarantee them their purchase. But you need to assure that we can give it to you at X price for the next 2 years because it's local. Yes, we look at the changing things or rebates, concession, refining costs. But because we know your refining costs are steady and why some things like capex for Gandengate doesn't change because it's a new refinery. All refineries, a lot of things, the cost of maintenance and everything, they are putting maintenance costs. Dangote is a new refinery. So for the next 10 years, he's not going to be dealing with a lot of cost. All these 20 years old, 30 years old refineries are dealing with. It's a new equipment. It's going to be running at lower cost. Yes, even if the cost of refining is $15 per liter or per barrel, I can't even remember what it is, $15 per barrel, his own may not be up to that. It may be maybe $1 or $2 less. Because it's a new machine. And moreover, if we're not buying, we're not going to be asking ourselves, NNPC need to guarantee, they are getting Forex from selling X amount. How much crude oil? 650,000 barrels a day that you can guarantee him. But where is NNPC getting the crude that they're refining?
Look, that's our JT. Let us. I mean, look, the elephant in the room is Nigeria's average crude oil production. That's what we have not looked at. The Obasanjo is doing 2.2, and Tinubu today is 1.4.
See what I'm bringing out. I worked in the oil. You know me, we know personally. See what I'm bringing out. What they are sending out to refine is still based on the installed capacity that we're not able to use in Nigeria. We have an installed capacity that we're not able to use. That is a concession given to NNPC. So that is all capacity. Even though they are not using it because our refineries are down, they are taking it. This is what they are exchanging to bring in crude oil products.
So and what you said, JTF, this was the fight. This was the fight now. This was the fight that they were fighting. That's why NNPC came out, and not NNPC, that's why the regulator came out and said that Dangote was inferior and unlicensed. Because if Nigeria was a functional society, NNPC has no refineries, Dangote has refineries. Hence, NNPC should do distribution, Dangote should do refining. So we will take the crude oil, give it to Dangote. Dangote would refine all the crude oil, and Dangote will pay taxes. End of story. We don't want to know what subsidy is. Dangote refine. Excellent. Then he refined. We don't care where it's imports. And you see the funny thing, if you give Dangote the crude oil, then he will pay in Forex because he can sell the crude oil and get the Forex to pay Nigeria, not NNPC. So if you are, say for instance, you are ExxonMobil and you drill oil, 100 barrels, so Nigeria has 60 barrels, you give that 60 barrels to Dangote. Dangote will pay Exxon in dollars. Dangote will then pay Nigeria in dollars or whatever for that crude oil. He will refine it. He will give whatever he wants to do. Nigeria will get his taxes from Dangote. We don't care about who is landing cost or refining cost. Go and do your business. Pay us taxes. We move forward. Then NNPC or Ministry of whatever can then settle and they were going to focus on the social welfare of the scheme. We will tax Dangote. We will take that tax and apply into a subsidy for the poor, for the small medium enterprises, and then the nation moves forward. Nobody is subsidizing food in Nigeria. Why isn't everybody complaining? Is food being subsidized? So why are you all complaining about PMS? What is so special about PMS? Is yam you are buying to who subsidizing for you. Didn't you buy it yesterday? Won't you eat it today? Will you not buy it tomorrow? Who are giving you money to buy yam? But PMS will carry placard. 67 or Civil War. Let's move on.
The excuse is that energy costs translate to...
It's 6%. It's 6%. NBS has said energy cost is 6%. Food is 57%. There's no argument.
That is why financial literacy is, you see, I've said it, one of the problems, especially in economic topics in Nigeria, is that, see, anything that is painful, anything that changes the norm, you cannot explain it in a basic manner. Trust me, it's not going to sell. Floating of the naira, you see people arguing because the naira has gotten to one state that fixing will have solved. Where
do you feel to get the money to fix?
Are we going to place dollars?
You can't.
The naira we have been printing, look at the price that's paid. And that was why I was against the new minimum wage. But because it was...
Come on, Habu. Habu is asking me, how can Dangote pay taxes in free trade zone? So free trade zone, they don't pay taxes? Why?
Yeah,
So,
they do.
don't he export it out? The refinery out. Exactly. I asked that question. The only tax free he gets that he's refined for free. When he exports to Nigeria, he will pay taxes now. Excise duties, he will pay a bit. But inside that refinery is free. Habaga, you should know this one now. Let me get Akin to go.
Finally, just finally, an area, maybe in another discussion, you need to host a room and discuss our procurement process. All these elephants, all this big elephant that we're talking about is in that place. We need to have a single window for procurement. Not that BPE will buy for anybody. No, but that is where everything. Look at them. Since we are copying America, we should copy that. All the government agencies advertise on SAM.gov. There is no cost for a potential contractor to pick up a bid. It's electronic. They download it and do. So you put it there and everybody will go and see what is there. And people, if I submitted a bid and you lose a contract that you bidded on, you write the agency and request for debriefing. I want to know, why wasn't I selected? They have to answer you within a specific time. This is why you are not accepted. Maybe your price is higher or your price is low. This is the guy. And if you doubt, if you disagree with them, in America, you escalate it to the Government Accountability Office. Government Accountability, then they will put a stop order on that job and investigate it. We need to get to that point so that people...
I totally agree with what GTF is saying. And, I just want to round up and let people speak. Because, see, what he mentioned is the major problem in Nigeria's stock market. If you look at the most efficient companies, they don't really get into these procurement deals as we talk about. For example, I look at the tech companies in the US, how much they got in from defense, NASA. It's Boeing and Lockheed, the money they made from the Ministry of Defense is enviable. But you see, if you look at Nigeria, for example, Champs has been in the Nigerian stock market for decades. But you see one small entity owned by maybe a minister's badge or anything, making fintech deals, billions of naira. These are the problems we have. I've mentioned it. I said, until we start appreciating successful people in Nigeria and rewarding them for the efficiency and risk they do, it's going to be sound of music, because it's the major reason why the stock market is at $5 billion in market valuation. A country of 200 million plus people. How do you want to explain that? And we keep arguing that you want to create jobs. How do you create jobs when you don't reward successful people? How do you create jobs when the system is efficient?
$1 trillion economy. That's what we're doing. $1 trillion. Again, before I let JTF go, Madam Due Process was working towards JTF was talking about. We had a due process office that was going towards this. I remember back then during Basenjo even good talk time, We had all the projects in one place. You would go and see federal government contracts in one place. You could do your bidding. This was a magazine in Abuja. There was a magazine called Government Contract in Abuja. They slept on the street. You see all the contracts in one place. Now, Jet was bought. Who bidded for it? You see all the things are bought. Who bidded for it? I don't know. But it's JT, put me on the spot. Let's bring guys talk about procurement process. We'll get it done. Let me get Aki and Enna. Aki, go ahead and the floor. Aki Ola Oye, sir.
How you doing, man?
I'm doing very well, sir.
Great conversation, and I think for many of us, I as an adult Nigerian, I have this headache that hits me once in a while, and I want to run away from this conversation, but I can't. But I grew up in the oil and gas community. My dad worked for Shell for 35 years. That's all I know. My bread and butter in terms of people around me, family. I see, people, from being an illiterate 14-year-old, 15-year-old kid get shipped off in the 60s, 70s, the UK, Netherlands, come back to Nigeria, work as an oil platform engineer, do all kinds of fun stuff, build careers, raise family. Many of them who are my friends and people like me. And then to turn around and see that our oil and gas industry is still in the abysmal state that it is some 40 years later is heartbreaking. I'll tell you a fun story. I was 7 years old and I made my first excursion to an oil installation. It was a flow station in Bayelsa. At the time, it was part of River State. We had to enter 2 canoes, took a hovercraft, and basically walked through swamp and marshland. It was a fun excursion, and I saw what they call a Christmas tree for the first time. And I'd seen it in pictures. I hear my dad, on many crisis calls, there's a spillage, and I never knew what these things look like. And for the first time, was walking through crude oil, in a swamp area, and I could see devastation to local, what I call farming and fishery, and you see what the impact is. So again, for me, following my dad to work, seeing what, oil and gas is all about, living in a shell camp, which is like a residential area. A lot of kids never saw the product. I got the exposure, and then I said, you know what, this is fun, this is what I want to do. So many years later, I chose to study engineering, and then the tough decision, do I go back to Nigeria and work for Shell? But then when I now did analysis, at the time, this was 2004, 2005, Shell was exiting a lot of investments. I started talking to a lot of, my relatives, many of them who had become senior executives, even down to the MD at the time, Sumonu. And they're like, hey, man, look, to be honest, between me and you, there's nothing going to be left in the oil and gas industry in Nigeria in the next 20 to 30 years. This was the feedback I got. And it was very heartbreaking. So, I look at, the journey of my life, hoping to come back, work oil and gas, be like my dad, 30, 40 years, build a career. I saw it, basically go out through the window. So now, I want to really focus on a few things because there are things we don't really talk about when you look at, why our oil and gas industry has not gone through the kind of maturity cycle that it ought to, have experienced. I mean, the first oil well drilled in 1937 in Oloibiri, you think that Nigeria would be, a giant. Let's not compare us to Brazil or many other countries, but why is it that, SPDC, Chevron, forget, joint venture that the military government brought in, which again, for me, I would say has been what has really crippled the industry because that JV venture that they put on paper and used as sort of the administrative model for the industry, one that was just pillaged with fraud, waste, and abuse. And I'll come back to that. If we're truly serious, you look at the upstream aspect of the industry. As a relative told me, he said, look, a lot of times these IOCs come to Nigeria. Back in the day, there was corporate governance, corporate social responsibility. If you look and see a lot of the development in Niger Delta today, if those companies had not invested the way they did, the Niger Delta region would be like the jungles of Sambisa Forest and many of these areas in Kaduna where you can't find civilization. Just to be very sincere. But again, we're enjoying some of the fruits of other economies, making sure that the companies that operated in Nigeria were abiding by their laws, even in faraway countries. Coming back to oil and gas platform investments, a lot of them feel like, if they've invested so much money and they can extract oil, sell at a baseline, what you call the foreign market rate, they can calculate their P&L upfront. All of the other things, operations, efficiencies, FX, corporate social governance, investing in communities, paying ransom for kidnaps, them they will exclude that because that's equally another trouble point. They can live with it. But then when you now talk of, let's go downstream, or even let's talk midstream, right? That's where fraud and abuse has been embedded into the oil and gas industry. First, talk about the fact that even down to issuance of oil blocks, it's the most it's insane. Countries like China, they will behead you. Talk more, that you want to line up your cronies and use oil and gas blocks. Oil blocks to reward people. So Nigeria is operating backwards. You come back to, let's talk about midstream. People don't really focus on process and storage. You hear about Malta, and you start asking yourself, how is it that a country that has been in the oil and gas business for many decades, going to a century, in 15 years, Nigeria would have been producing oil for 100 years, cannot even brag about a sophisticated midstream industry. You come back to distribution, where you sort of have the downstream pipelines. That's where a lot of these vermins, these canker worms, as I call them, people that have eaten Nigeria down to the depth of his soul, have basically pitched their tent. So it's a Dangote fight. It is just based on the fact that when you look at the oil being drilled in Nigeria, the oil leaving Nigeria, the oil coming back to Nigeria in form of finished products, that gap that you have is when people have said, for generations to come, we will continue.
I agree. So you're saying that when they export the crude oil, they only bring back PMS, but the other byproducts, they are chopping it.
Of course. We don't talk about that. But that one is another Twitter piece completely because, brother, my head, man. That's the reason why I just said, oil and gas, I would not even do it. I have relatives. I can tell you their first and my last name that have been killed in Nigeria, bullets to their brains because they came in and said, you know what, man, we want to turn whistleblowers. We don't care. I'm not paying back. Let them come back to this Dangote story itself, first of all. When you look at Dangote as an entity and how he operates in Nigeria, are you telling me Dangote can operate the way he operates in Texas or in Oklahoma or in North Dakota? No, he cannot. He will not survive one day. He cannot and he will not survive. When you talk of integrity, compliance, please, let's not even go there. So a lot of the, what I call troubled waters he's sailing on is because he's part of this rotten system. Let me just give you a snippet of what corruption and rot looks like. So, I'm a very small-time business entrepreneur in Nigeria. I have stores in choice locations. And for me, if I walk in, if I can't do a deal where it's clean, under sunlight, no bribes paid, I don't pay tips, I'm not going to do business, I walk away. So this is me on the microphone. People can record me. I tried getting a store at the local airport in Ikeja. This was about 9 years ago, just at the peak of the Buhari administration. And I approached the commercial director, wrote letters, found everything, and I identified the space. I said, hey, there's, prime real estate, retail. You go through the Arik Terminal, Airpiece, as shabby as it looks, those businesses are there. Let me tell you what you see. That is entrenched corruption you are looking at every time you walk through those locations. The farm director, whoever it is, will say, okay, there's a retail space. Let's build a newspaper stand, kiosk, sell mobile phones, bring in a vendor. The person that gets that space, guess what? You have to give up a certain percentage of your business or your revenues just to operate from that stand. So I'm now using this to give you a snippet of what that may have gotten himself into. Because again, you cannot tell me that he's not capable. He is in all of this. And it's just because of the terrain. When you're greedy as a businessman in Nigeria, you have to lie with the devil. And when you lie with the devil, don't expect roses and strawberries.
Well, let me ask you a question. If I was the president, I have fuel lines today, I have fuel subsidy issues, things are bad, and I see a Dangote refinery, 650,000 barrels, can solve many of my problems. Will I not put this interest aside and ensure this guy works because that means my admin works? It even helps me.
So my first question for you is, I will ask him, okay, how much of your business do I own as president? That's my first question.
Wait, I can understand.
I worked in the industry. Hold on, I worked in the industry in Nigeria. I work with RJ for a long time. You know, I'm an engineer. I have a bachelor's mechanical, master's in chemical engineering. I worked in RJ. I've worked for Bechtel in America. I've worked for BP. So I understand the oil industry. So when in trying to answer that question, I talked about embeds. What embeds does is they when they do their bid round, they want to know who can supply us this at this rate. If you can, because that is the guarantee, that is what makes your project bankable. If you have a buyer that will guarantee that X percentage of purchase. Nigeria is not trying to own their power plants. What you want to own is refinery. Nigeria is not trying to. What Nigeria does, what the government does through NBES, is to guarantee you that for the next 10 years or 20 years, your product, we're going to buy it. So what you do to help the homegrown industries of capacity, what do you want to own it? We are privatizing what we own, and you want to own another.
Unless it's saying corruption. I think it's saying corruption.
What the government should do, if they have people that have the capacity to do it, guarantee them their budget, because what they need, and your guarantee is not like you're just showing them, if you're getting this, we can, for the next 2 years or 3 years, whatever their bank needs to make it bankable, we're going to guarantee you.
My response, listen, you come from an organized background where you understand compliance. When I responded to Kalu, for me to be a president Tinubu and say Dangote will be successful, I'm going to look at Dangote and say, Dangote, how much of your business do I first have a share of? And this is just, I'm giving you the Nigerian context of of how people should expect the president to respond. Now, is that how things should be? No, of course not. That is corruption on its face. And I'm not saying it because it's the president that is asking. It could be the president's men, people in his inner cabinet. You have people that are not scared of going to jail. Nobody's prosecuting them. So as far as they're concerned, to them, a Dangote operating without any strings attached to them is haram. They don't even understand it. Go and verify. Go and find the biggest players in the industry.
He's not lying.
By extension, have some type of shares. But anyways,
no, you're not lying. And sadly, you're not lying, because I know of a story of an American company, quoted company, that wanted to come to Nigeria, and the guy was asked to give shares. They just were asking them for shares. How do we give you shares? How does that work? We give you. So you're not lying, Aki. And I think it's a sad situation. But going back to the point of the space, right? Just decouple these things now. Take NNPC Limited out. Make it a player. Make it a distribution agent. Let this thing be decoupled. Let everyone go to the market. Let it be transparency. Let commercial prices set. Let price discovery allow market prices to go where they intend to go to. Why is it so hard? I know there's corruption, but can't a Tinubu that wants to come in and make a name for himself, if he cleans up NNPC and people see the benefit, he has done what Buhari could not do, what Goodluck could not do. Why can't they go and make a legacy? What's all this? I've not seen a hearse carrying you home before. Why can't you do something consequential? I don't know, man.
So if they would do something, so between me and you, if you look at the oil and gas industry, the only thing NNPC should be involved with should be distribution at the wholesale level.
That's all.
Right? And allow, mom and pop, Kalu and Aki to come set up fuel stations, pay taxes, buy and deal with the local.
I'm not happy with the host, man.
Let the market forces determine the price of the product.
We'll get to
now. You hope that Dangote refinery down the street in Bejuleki, will be one where plug and play. Let's celebrate. But brother, you can already see all the hopes and all the madness involved. But let me tell you, there's a cabal, and there's a new cabal waiting to equally get the piece of the pie.
Wow.
The old cabal are fine. They are entrenched. They are okay. They know how. They've already written the formula. There's the new kids on the block that are making sure that they can equally embed themselves, install their own microchips on their USB devices, and make sure that they don't miss out from whatever will come out of this for the next 50 years. That is what is at play. I can say a lot here, but obviously, just Nigeria.
Let me get Anna in here. Let's get Anna in, and then let's get Anna's take on this. Anna has some very also some.
11 verse 3.
The Bible says, if the foundation be faulty, what can the righteous do? It was about Einstein who said, you cannot solve a problem with the same thinking that created it. So as president, my question to Dangote would be, what were you thinking? When you spoke of the Shell bombs and national companies, they are integrated oil companies. When you establish a plant, I work in plants, the first thing you do before you even start building or looking for money, before you even get deep, you guarantee your feedstock and you guarantee your off-takers. So the big question was, what was Dangote thinking when he was going to build the world's largest refinery without guaranteeing his feedstock? And is it the duty of government to guarantee his feedstock, having invested that kind of fund which is coming from your economy? Because prior to this time, the marine vessels held like 20% of your debt stock. What percentage of that refinery is Nigeria's current debt stock? So I'm saying this to say, the next president must, before people come and say, give me $10 billion to do this project, give me $20 billion to do this project, I have this name, that you succeeded before. The balance scorecard was developed because people were investing in businesses, they will invest today to fail tomorrow. AIG was once worth 850 billion United States dollars. In 2008, it lost what, 98.1 billion. Enron, at one time, had over 20,000 employees. Their shares go for $90 per share. At the time, worth over 70 billion. Lagos, under the current president, invested. What happened? It collapsed. You're using yesterday's information. You're using yesterday's capacity in Dangote to guarantee the future of your funds tied down and its capacity to run it. So my big question is, first, should we celebrate people because they build refineries? Should we celebrate people because they win the presidency? Or we should celebrate people that they are able to run the refinery 4 or 5 years down the line? Or we celebrate presidents because 4 or 5 years down the line, they were able to deliver what they were delivering? So the big question is, what was Dangote thinking? And clearly, from his optics, he didn't guarantee his feedstock. And nobody does that.
Quick, could it be that he started the refinery under a different government?
I'm going further. I'm not finished.
Go ahead.
My question to you, Carlo, is that refinery in Nigeria or is outside Nigeria?
Well, technically, it's in the geographical region of Nigeria. Tax-wise, it's outside Nigeria.
Okay, good. So you're saying 50-50. Half leg out, half leg in.
Tax-wise, it's outside Nigeria. That's all it is. But
so
it's in Nigeria.
With your answer, I'm taking your answer for it. So it's 50 leg in Nigeria, 50 leg. So are you now saying, like AIG has been bailed with $185 billion of taxpayer funds? Are you now telling me, when I know that family businesses account for 64% of the U.S. gross domestic product, 62% of the country's employment, account for 78% of new jobs, and generate over 12.9 trillion in the U.S.? Are you not saying our singular focus on just one refinery, is it not detrimental to the general good of the welfare of businesses that are being wiped out due to the current economic situation? Are you saying that we should celebrate people that win elections or people that establish plants just because they establish a plant? And we can see...
Let him land.
Or you can see from the optics that there were some missing links. So my big question is, what was he thinking? And is... Aki was saying something. Aki is my brother. My brother, if you like, spend 90 years in the oil and gas industry, I guarantee you, Nigeria does not understand the business of oil and the oil of business. The Ziani grew in Shell to become ED. Kibe Kajuku grew in Mobile to become vice president. Brothers and sisters, we saw them. We heard them. We saw their feedback. I put it to you. Nigeria as a country does not understand the business of oil and the oil of business. And the oil and gas industry is not profitable. All these ones were saying is highly sensitive to global happiness wars and all of that. Why are we wasting time? People are spending energy. Go and look at the richest men in the world. Brothers and sisters, you don't see oil and gas there. Carlo, you're in the US. Go look at Fortune 500 companies. Look at the most profitable. It's finance. Pharmaceuticals. So while we should be talking of women like Enzo Pharmaceuticals. based on the health statistics of the people in the future. Those are the things you'll be thinking of exporting. What concerns us and concerns crude oil? Crude oil is our distraction now. Because every window has a door. There's a tide in the affairs of men. When you go to a great ship, you find fortune. As the window for us to evolve into the oil and gas industry gone. And even if you're the oil and gas industry, are you in a backward integration or forward integration? When people are investing in technology and the optics is talking of 2015 and zero, we're here discussing a plant. Is it easier to run the refineries or easier for us to manage the market forces? Which one is easier? Because if you understand the nature of a thing, its behavior will not surprise you. Because if 4 trillion has gone to the refineries and nothing has come out, that one we can control. A refinery is like a generator. You can off, you can on. You can add, you can remove. You can punish for failures. You can sack, you cannot sack. Market forces that you cannot control is what we are sitting here discussing. Even if we put all the variables together based on system dynamics, do you not know and do I not know that one singular thing can happen that will thwart all those efforts and bring it to waste? So Africa must stop celebrating successes.
Yeah, and I hear you. But they say, someone says you go to war with the army you have. Crude oil today in Nigeria is 89% of our forex.
I say it's a distraction.
It's not. It's 89%.
Crude oil processing.
No, Anna, you know, Anna, I get you. What I'm saying is, today, as you and I speak today, we have to eat bread today. Anna, we must eat bread. No, we must eat bread today to think about tomorrow. So we have to eat bread today. Anna, we have to eat bread today to think about tomorrow. Today, crude oil is 89% of Nigeria's forex, which means that if crude oil stops today, Nigeria goes broke tomorrow. End of story.
Then you see the ingenuity of Nigerians. Then you see the ingenuity of Nigeria.
We're not going to wait there. Enna, you're being too critical.
I'm not critical. I'm putting it on you that
yes,
we have neighbors.
Now you're hearing a rebuttal. Listen to a rebuttal. You're being too critical.
You need to address the issue, not me. Forget it.
Yeah, but you are. Wait. Let's keep it. Let's keep it simple. Let's make sure. Anna, you are calling me person who address you. So the issue you've raised is that oil is a distraction. It's not.
And I repeat it.
We can.
Have neighbors.
Anna, let me speak. We can argue that we should not focus on oil. Is less than 10% of our GDP. 10%, less than 8% of our GDP. But it brings in 89% of the forex. If oil stops today, Nigeria goes broke tomorrow. That's a factual statement. We can debate if it should be so, but it's a factual statement. I get the point you are saying. Let's look at the future. But today, people are queuing up in Nigeria because there is no fuel. So we must address. Have I been broke before? Yes.
Are you still broke today?
No.
Why must we run from? Why must we push the evil day? What is bad to be broke? Have I been broke before? Yes. Am I broke today? No. Was China broke before?
Your point is. So what's your point with this broke question?
So my point is, we should stop pushing the evil day. We should face the main thing. Because the main thing is, it really the price of crude? Because if we keep focusing on protecting the price of crude, is that effort not supposed to go towards us expanding our economy?
I don't.
In China, I'm coming.
I don't.
In China. Is the China economy not 18 trillion? Are we supposed to be guiding or we're supposed to be expanding? You spoke of selling crude. They are selling our crude. Can't we invest in those countries? Can't we expand our borders? Why is there no
I'm not sure if you follow me. I'm preaching for free. I'm preaching for the government to get out of this whole issue. I am saying the people of Nigeria should take control. The private sector should own this, set the prices, and grow it. Nothing that is wrong by the government in Nigeria has worked. Nothing. Including NNPC. And we have a gas plant, we have an oil plant. The gas plant is doing very well. The oil plant is doing very well. The difference, the government owns the oil, the president owns the gas. Simple. So I'm pushing that. That's what this space is talking about. The economics, like I've highlighted, says that NNPC is neck deep in this. The issue is production. The issue is a government entity setting prices. The issue is trying to control the extraction, the distribution, the marketing of crude oil. When anyone else can do that, and as a government, you should focus on just the social side. That's my take. I don't want the government anywhere near oil. They've killed it.
And in addition to what you've said, Carlo, is on, whether we're celebrating entrepreneurs.
We must celebrate. We must celebrate Dangote.
We have
15 billion.
Now,
Anna, do you name an American has invested 15 billion in America in the last 20 years? Name one. No, I want Anna. Name an American that has invested 15 billion in the last 20 years. Name one. Name one.
Nigerians will celebrate presidents and governors for winning.
Not this Nigerian. Not this Nigerian.
Let's make some other argument away from what you're saying. When it comes to whether the input, the feedstock, or the feedstock was guaranteed, because even whichever country that you're buying products from are getting feedstock from people that are producing crude oil, from companies that are producing crude oil. And they're getting feedstock from the international market because they are traded. Stocks are traded in Rotterdam. The stocks are, products are traded. They are physicals. They are traded there. So the fact that we have X amount of crude oil coming out, and we guaranteed him feedstock. Feedstock was already guaranteed. It's tied to his refinery. The government guaranteed feedstock, and you're saying, it's not reliable. We are producing X amount.
Okay, but let's get on that there. I think Enna's made his point. I want to get on that.
I know, but let me stretch it a bit. It is, when we do 1.3 million or 1.2 million or 1 or 2 million barrels a day, it is from this that all the other oil companies share. But what everybody's taking, by the end of the day, it will still boil down to their own amount. If you're taking 100,000 barrels, if Shell is taking 200,000 barrels, that it is. But these things are traded. Their own trading platform trade it. Before Shell takes it away from Nigeria, they've traded their trading platform, are trading they have their commercial sector that are trading this crude. It doesn't go to Shell refinery in UK or in Italian ENI. It's not taken to their refinery. It's traded. So Dangote, a government wanted a manufacturing base in their country to work. Dangote is not telling you that, give it to us. If you're selling the international price is $10, give it to us at $5. Guarantee him his feedstock. Trade it, but send it to him. You already guaranteed it when you signed that agreement memorandum with him. Fulfill that part. He will pay the price. He will pay what you're selling it. But you don't have to take the 650,000 barrels and send it outside and tell him, you didn't secure your.
Can I say something?
You can, of course. It's
Section 40, subsection 2B of Nigeria's 1999 Constitution says the security and the welfare of the people shall be the primary concern of government. Mr. JTF, I asked you, based on what I just quoted on the Constitution, has that been guaranteed you? And I repeat.
Come on, let's not have let's not be esoteric here. Let's not be esoteric here.
The governments that cannot guarantee you for refineries working are the ones you're saying they gave you a contract to guarantee your feedstock. In conclusion, I'm saying Dangote would have first found a way to plug himself into drilling whatever to see.
Dangote owns 2 oil blocks. Dangote owns 2 oil blocks. All right, guys. I'll mute everyone. All right, let's stop. Okay. Let's stop. We're gonna move on to someone else. Let's get Ayo Moses. Ayo, you've got the floor.
Yeah, thank you, Carlo. So, first, I'm just quickly answer Anna to say that we didn't do due diligence to know where we get to space up. When when the federal government wasn't getting in feedstock, it was getting its feedstock from USA and Brazil. It was getting WTI, and even before this PMS brought up, that has been exporting aviation fuel, exporting naphtha, and all of that. So, if it persists that the government refuse or cannot supply, it will still get its feedstock from outside the country and will export its product outside the country and leave all this Nigerian wala for the Nigerian space and all of that. So that is why it's in the free trade zone. And it's because of that is why it was cited in the free trade zone so that it can exit himself from these problems when it arises. So it is a 650,000 barrel which comes to about 103 million liters, and about 53 million liters of every product can go to the Nigerian market, while the rest can go for export. And the refinery has a basic complexity that can dimension in a way to produce at any given time what is needed. So if the Nigerian market decides that they are not ready, it will just continue to do its export, and it makes his income, and there's no problem. But the thing is that under your PI section 109, for the DCS, you have a domestic crude supply obligation, not to confirm what JTF was saying, that guarantees that for all the local refiners, they will first be the first right of access for crude before the external the IOCs get that. And wherefore there's not enough for everybody, but they will also guarantee that the local refiners get their product before it goes to any other place. That's where the problem is.
So quick question, doctor. Is it that is it Nigeria's share that goes to the local guys, or is it the total oil drill? With that provision?
Total oil drill. Total oil. So look at the DCS section 4 from 1 to 10. It's specific that the authority will do an aggregate demand of the local market and ensure that the local market gets the first right of access from the total.
So how will this work? So how will this work? So Exxon has got crude oil. Exxon owns that crude oil. Are you saying Nigeria will go to Exxon and say you must give it to us?
So now that is the thing. So the last time I had this conversation, I was like, was it that the people on the Nigerian side didn't really sit down to look at all of this and say, okay, you know what? Because, like BTF said, when Shell, Chevron, and all these guys buy, it goes to their trading company. They enter into the different markets, into Petroleum and the rest of them, and all of that. So you cannot, how do you now tell them to say, okay, withdraw all of that and supply the local market? So I think the management position is what the problem is from the NNPC side, NMDPRA side, and all those involved within the oil and gas sector in Nigeria. So they have to solve that problem. So we know that we cannot do more than 1.6 million, including condensate. So what that means is that if you move condensate, you're probably maybe 800,000 barrels when you move condensate. And all of us know that some of those products are already tied in forward, and also all these IOCs are going to get their product. So it's quite nebulous, and the operation is quite opaque, and that's why all of us are complaining. But having said that, for the Dangote side, they've secured their own side to ensure they can get feedstock from any part of the world, refine their product, and export it through the SPMs without any problem at all to them. So that is on that.
There was a guy that was here from Dangote Refinery. The guy that was talking. I wish he can come back from Dangote Refinery. He was here a few spaces ago, giving us a lot of good insight. I wish he can be here because the PRA has this provision. The PRA says to guarantee, but I'm still wondering how a nation can sign a JV with Shell, Exxon, and then go back and say, "Oh, Shell, Exxon, give us." They'll sue us.
No. The way it works, this is the trading part of it. This is a commercial. Yes, Ajip, I used to be with Ajip. Ajip may be getting 100,000 barrels a day. That's their this thing, and you export maybe from I've forgotten, you expect from whatever your terminal is, you're exporting. The government will have to know how much is leaving. You're exporting maybe 1 million barrels every month. Every month, your tanks are full, become barrel, you shoot it out, and the vessels come in and take it. But you're just trading it. You're not taking it to the refinery in Italy. So what happens is that those your export obligation that you want to tie with E&I trading company. E&I knows that NNPC is broke. The NNPC cannot finance the obligations. That's why we have these MCAs, modified carriage agreement. But Dangote and the local refineries are now in the middle. We're going to pay. Instead of you taking it, Mr. B in London is buying it, trader in Rotterdam is buying it for $7 a barrel. Here's your $7 a barrel. You're selling it here. We're saving you that charter party agreement. Nobody is paying the charter party agreement. We're picking it up here. We're picking it up there and taking it to our refinery. So what Shell wants is to sell their commercial department goods in. They want to sell. NPC will help broker the deal, or if they have an embed, will broker the deal, sit on the table. You're selling. Nobody's forcing you, but what you want to do is to sell. And you want people you want this trader that will come in and you're sure that they can guarantee buy for this amount, for this number of time. It's a commercial aspect. And the NPC is not going to force them or not force them, but they're providing that leverage. Yeah, Dangote can talk to them directly, but NPC will make it even much more smoother. And they will talk to him. You want to sell. It's not like they're not selling to their refinery. Their refineries are well fulfilled with all the production they have going on in Europe and everywhere in the world. Their refineries in Europe are well fulfilled. The ones that are getting here, that are selling in, that are trading it in their trading.
I want to be clear on this, right? The total oil Nigeria, just want to be clear, direct answer, the total oil Nigeria has, are we saying that we can order the international oil companies in Nigeria to give that oil to Shell? Is that to Dangote? Just want to be clear on that.
No, it is commercial agreements.
No, but can we? I know.
No, they are selling. We are not ordering them, but is the business case? You want to sell it. This is the buyer. You want to sell 1 million barrels. This is the buyer here. You're not ordering them. You just want to sell.
So why can they do it without that provision? Why do the provision? Why do the provision? Yeah.
So this is the problem. Dangote, like JTF has rightly said, wants to buy. But now the trading companies are saying, so the shells are saying, no, okay, you can't buy from me direct. It must go to my trading company. Now the trading companies are putting a $2, $4 premium on what they want to give to Dangote.
Okay.
And that they say, no, that is not what's in the domestic supply agreement.
Okay.
So JTF, you understand?
But the PIA also guarantees, apart from it guaranteeing, giving local refiners rights of first refusal, there's also willing buyer, willing seller. So there's some sort of contradiction there. I know the National Assembly, they're holding a public hearing from September 11. This is one of the things they want to address because there are two, there are contradictions there on this same issue.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
not that clear. Why do you need a provision if it's market driven? Why do you need to put it there if it's to say, okay, give it to me? So that's the point I'm making.
It's pretty much the energy sufficiency that they're talking about. Okay. It's just like the way months ago said, look, you cannot export food items to neighboring countries anymore. That Nigeria must have food sufficiency. So it's still the same logic behind it. That there has to be energy sufficiency in Nigeria first before exporting or looking outside.
Interesting. And I have a question for you. So
if Dangote has secured his feedstock, why was he crying?
So because it's easier to get. So if he's getting from Nigeria, he doesn't need to not start importing from Brazil or the US. He just gets his feedstock from Nigeria, takes it to the refinery, it refines and sells back to the Nigerian market. However, if you are not giving him the feedstock, he's still going to get his feedstock from Brazil and US and do his business. It's as simple as that.
And the people he's buying from or want you to buy from at that preferred rate, are they competitors?
They are not competitors.
They are crude.
They are not competitors. The competitors, the competitors you are looking at are the people when you're making them go to the boogeyman. The boogeyman are the guys refining in Malta. Those are the people that are making it difficult.
That is competition.
Wants to do. If there's a boogeyman, they're not
Malta. All right,
it's the big players that are making it.
All right, we've got the oil big boys here. And I didn't want to say anything. I know you came on to, but do you have anything specific?
It's still this issue of, still this argument of subsidy. We're saying that government is corrupt and all that. NNPC is corrupt. They cannot run an effective subsidy regime. And so we've sort of given these guys a free pass, saying that, because of corruption and all that, we cannot run it. Look, even before Saudi Aramco went public, it was being run as a very, very efficient and profit-making entity. So I think we need to stop giving government this. Okay, fine. Let's even say, okay, this issue of government has no business doing business. Fine, government will do regulation. But if you're corrupt in the area of business, you also be corrupt in the area of regulation, and you also fail. Regulation at least cannot be given to private sector to do.
Yeah.
And so look at what is even happening now currently in filling stations.
I see.
I bought a keg of petrol, 50 liters, and it's not 50 liters that is inside. So there's still failure of government in the area of regulation.
But shouldn't we just bring in technology to because even in the US here, the police guys wear body cams because they are not angels, and the body cams makes them honest. The same way when I want to pay my taxes and all that, I don't give cash to anybody. If you go to the car parks in Nigeria, they install the automatic thing that your car goes by, you pay, it goes up. That doesn't work for more than one day. More than one day, they always ruin it because they want to collect cash. technology can help us in this instance. We know the government is quote unquote, but tech can help to eliminate the corruption. There are many other ideas out there that we can use. So why can't we be serious and say tech can? I mean, Lagos State, when we say Tinubu took revenues from 900 million or so, it's because he told guys to go and pay in the bank. No more. Before Tinubu came, you could write whatever and pay. It was just going to pay in the bank. That's what he introduced now. And now it's now taken for granted. If you want to pay anything for your government, you pay in the bank. So it's the exact same thing. If we do that on PMS, there's a way we can use fintechs, technology to achieve a subsidy payment. Not what humanitarian ministry is doing, but we can achieve a subsidy payment that is equitable, trackable, and auditable. And Nigerians will be better off for it. That's my take on that.
We can also diversify our transport system. For example, China now has 25,000 kilometers of high-speed railway. So if we were to do that across Nigeria, that would significantly cut down the PMS usage.
I agree completely. No, I agree. Nigeria has no railway from the east to the west.
They said that we should go get CNG.
From
and
where?
Here in Abuja, I went to Nepo and they're telling me that I have to wait like 2 months before I can even get
exactly. I told the gentleman here called.
They don't get anywhere. Yeah.
I told the gentleman here that it can't happen overnight. CNG is a 24 months at the minimum project. There is nothing like CNG buses from heaven. It's not going to happen. There's no infrastructure for it. If you take a CNG bus to Lagos, it would work because that's in Lagos. They can easily roll out stuff here. If it goes to, say, Anambra or Bauchi, who services in Anambra or Bauchi? So we have to think global or act local. We've got to really get our hands dirty and say, how can we do public transportation that is cheap and efficient? And to me, there's not that way than to say we're going to buy buses and give these guys gas for free or reduce prices. So at least folks can go to work at subsidized rent. Then we have a 4-year, 5-year plan to revolutionize transportation all across Nigeria. Subsidy has been tied to so many things. Subsidy is not tied to transportation. Why shouldn't we have a modern public BRT? Why should we have it? We can sit down and get people to map out a region and say by bus, by train, by ferry, you get across and you pay just one cost. You buy one ticket, 50 naira a day, and that's all you use to go to Ireland and back. We can do it. But I know it's all, I don't know, I'm not really sure what to do.
So in the private sector, you can get all of these things done. But when it comes to public service, it's just a bit difficult, and I don't know why. So you talk about using technology. So you have between NDPR, NNPC, and all those within the regulatory framework of oil and gas. Between all of them, they don't have a single testing lab for the products that come into Nigeria or whatever they do. How would they now adopt technology at any point in time?
So where do we test?
To run the operation?
Where do we test?
So they go to Cotecna. They rely on Cotecna for their testing.
What are you talking about?
So whatever they give them is what they now take and say, okay, that's what it is.
If the government provides the 650,000 barrels for Dangote, must he sell his products in Nigeria or is free to sell it overseas?
So that's more than Nigeria needs. So he will sell what Nigeria demands and he can export the rest. That's what I think. Nigeria doesn't need. Yeah. That's it. So I think that should be the model. Give it to him and then tax him. Whereas you can tax corporate taxes. He wants the exports out, you tax it. You can tax corporate income. You can do excise duties. You can do all that, and you can raise a ton of revenues from him without the government getting involved in the day-to-day. That's just my take. The private sector is more efficient than the private is more efficient than the public sector. At least this is not Singapore. At least in Nigeria. Let me get a few more. Let's rotate the room. We've been here, guys, for 2 hours, 30 minutes talking about solutions to Nigeria because we love Nigeria. We don't want to see what's happening going forward. We want to give solutions. And I know you guys listen. Take these things and even if it's 1% improvement, take it and run with it. It's not difficult. We have the NIN, we have the BVN, we have the road safety, we have fintech. We can get these things over a 90-day period. Do a test in a small city like Jos. Test run it there. If it works, expand it to 3 geopolitical zones. If it works, roll it out. Make it voluntary. Do these things. Take the money we are paying to humanitarian foundation and pay for PMS. It's the same thing, right? Let's just roll it out. Ajibola, you've got the floor, sir. Please go ahead.
Can you hear me, Mr. Kalu?
I can, sir. Go ahead.
Nice one. Good argument, good discussion.
I just want to ask, just want to say something. Now, I want to talk as an average Nigerian. Now, please, I want you to enlighten us on something now. Now, are we saying that Dangote's selling the PMS now is going to be more expensive than we importing it? Or what is the price? Are you thinking that, okay,
No, what we're saying is that right now, before Dangote we are importing, we are saying when we have a local refinery, right, the elements that drive your local PMS price, refining is not a big portion of that. That's what we're saying. The big portions are the price of crude oil and your exchange rate. So the price of PMS will go down, but will not go down to the limit that you are thinking. Most Nigerians are thinking that the oil price is going to go back to maybe 100 naira or 200 naira. It's not going to happen. If your naira is 1600 and the price of crude is about 80, that's the point we're making, Ajibola. The price will go down when it will be swallowed up by more cost on the exchange side and on the cost of crude oil side, if that makes sense. But Ajibola, look at the benefit, Ajibola. Dangote will make more money for Nigeria, more dollars for Nigeria. So if Nigeria is smart, Nigeria can take the dollars and invest it in this transportation and productivity upgrades. But I'm afraid Nigeria might take that dollars and buy more private jets or more yachts. That's just me.
If Dangote is buying crude oil in naira, then
no difference. It makes no difference if he's buying in naira. It makes no difference. Because if he buys in naira, we lose the dollars. And he's also buying naira at the exchange rate of 160, right? So he's paying just naira. He's transferring the cost, right? A real subsidy will be Dangote pay in naira and pay 500 naira. Now Dangote will now buy in 500 naira, refine, and that difference in 500 naira will now eliminate the exchange differential of 1600 and the cost of crude oil. That's where you will now see crude oil in Nigerian pumps fall to 500. But if you give him to buy at 1600, you haven't done him any favors. The only, when we map this thing out, where Dangote gives you an advantage is in transportation. That's the main thing you see. The transport from south to Netherlands is gone. The transport from Netherlands back to Lagos is gone. It's going to be from south to Lagos. It's still transport, but it's a naira, but it's a local transfer. So we even make more GDP growth to go in consumption, right? But the main element is dollar is 1600 and crude oil is about 80 or 70. Those ones you can't wash away because you are refining in Lagos. Those costs are there irrespective of where you refine and irrespective of where you buy the crude from. That's my take.
What if we pull out of OPEC?
Doesn't make any difference. In OPEC guarantees $80 a barrel. If you leave OPEC, then you introduce more supply. You're not meeting your OPEC supply. OPEC told you 1.5. Just recently, you are below 1.5. So if you pull out or you are in, you still not met the OPEC quota now. And if you pull out, what you're then is that you are saying you're going to export more, which means that oil prices might even go down because you are exporting more. OPEC is a cartel. Their job is to restrict crude oil output to keep prices up. So Nigeria being in OPEC sort of guarantees that oil price is 80. If you go out of OPEC and you export, you are flooding the market. You are flooding the market, so the price may go down. Not saying it will, because Saudi will kill you, but may go down. So stay in OPEC.
Remember, there are things that we sell off OPEC, all the spot deals. We import the spot deals every day, and they're not on OPEC.
I think it doesn't matter. You're the expert, but it doesn't matter if we're in OPEC or not, in my view. I think it's a misnomer. We want to blame somebody, IMF, OPEC. That's not the issue. Obasanjo was doing 2.2 million barrels per day. Today, we just got to 1.6. If you believe the federal government, we just got to 1.6. That's not OPEC's doing. That's not IMF's doing. It's our doing to have allowed production go from 2.23 million barrels per day to 1.2. When the Tinubu said subsidy is gone, we were at 1.2 million barrels per day. And after that 1.2, we've done a deal with an African bank. We've taken some. We've sold our crude for swaps for dollars. They've taken more of that. So what is left now in Nigeria that we're going to then use to peg the naira and do subsidy? That's why this talk of peg and subsidy is, it's not. It doesn't have legs. Let's get Solaris. Let's get what is Solaris? Solaris? Is that right? Solaris, is that you? Thankful and grateful. Solaris, come on board. Come on board. Omase, Omose, Omose. Please go ahead, sir.
All right. So, a lot of this said about Dangote and the refinery. I would like to talk on the side of the consumers and Nigerians.
Right. How can I do that, please?
Yeah. So, if a Nigerian today owns a hybrid vehicle, I think that Nigerian would be happy or will not feel the bite in their pocket, because it's usually made to make you get more miles per gallon. And for the average Nigerian, it's really tough right now, because the average age of cars on the Nigerian road is about 14 years. That means you basically have cars that were produced in 2010, usually 2010 models. And you probably have, this is just the average, you probably have vehicles that were produced maybe 2004, 2005, still running on Nigerian roads. These are very old vehicles. You're talking about cars that are over 20 years old. These engines are not efficient anymore. And not to talk about loss of efficiency that has been lost due to the average Nigerian mechanic repairs on these engines. And these engines are not efficient anymore. And usually for an engine that's for a car that's about 15 years old, you probably have gotten close to 100,000 kilometers off that engine. And at that point, that engine has become very inefficient. And many of these engines start to fail at that point. Nigerians have been, I don't want to say the word wasting petrol on these cars. And these cars really cannot serve anybody. And for example, for a lot of Nigerians, like some people I know, not Lexuses, there are no Lexus vehicles that are 4-cylinder engines. You have cars that are 6-cylinder engines, taking from one place to the next place on a 6-cylinder engine. You don't have the roads to use the 6 cylinders, by the way, and you've been paying too much for petrol. Across Europe, you find more vehicles that are smaller, and they use less fuel, because fuel cost is equally on their pockets. America experienced a hike in petrol price, gas prices, to say, and the consumers responded and decided going for cars with better miles per gallon offerings. And now,
so we can't do that here, can we? We Nigerians can't afford a new car. I don't think any Nigerian doesn't work for governments, or is politically exposed, or is a big boy in the bank that can buy a new car. I doubt any Nigerian can.
That possibility is out of it. From China, you can find options of vehicles. If Naira was at 700, you could find vehicles that are around that 7 million. BYD offers that.
But how would you, when you say hybrid, what's the other thing you use to charge the hybrid? What's the other element?
There's full hybrid. In that case, you don't need to.
Yeah, but how would you charge the hybrid? Plug into where? I know, plug into where? Plug into.
No, there's plug-in hybrid.
I know. So plugging into where? Where would you plug it?
I'm not preferring that plug-in hybrid.
I'm saying, where would you plug the hybrid to? Where would the power come from? That's what I'm asking you. On the hybrid one.
I know that's an issue. There's plug-in hybrid, and it's different from the full hybrid. The full hybrid, you don't need to plug it. It has a generator on itself that will generate its batteries.
Oh, okay. So because we're going to come back to, you have a hybrid like a Tesla, but there's no NEPA to power the Tesla.
No, that will not work entirely, because you still need to buy the generator.
All right. So we're back to square one. Or we'll do solar. But
let me just put a question.
I think Nigerians should advance a policy or pressure the government. Instead of talking about petrol prices, the government to, like they just did student loans, right?
Yeah.
They could do also financing equally. And avail it all. I don't know if they can get cheaper options from China.
I hear you. No, you make a good point. I was just playing. You make a good point, you know. But
yeah, because BYD recently released a version of their vehicle, the BYD 6 and King.
Let me ask you a question. I think
1,000 kilometers. That's mad impressive.
I hear you. I hear that a state government, I think the states of Enugu and Imo State are trying to tax their citizens because they're using solar. They say the solar is ruining.
I heard that. That's absurd.
So imagine if those states brought hybrid. So if they're taxing you for using solar, what would they do to you if you use a hybrid car? The problems are plenty, the problems are plenty.
So almost, and I like that you brought this.
We have a smart government where the cost of petrol, is skyrocketing. Equally, energy. Some people admit that or proclaim that was improved power stability. I love that. That is the reality for some. But then you cross into the band A, band B, band C, and associated cost of having stable power. You would think that maybe perhaps in 2024 we have a government that will say, you know what, if you're importing hybrid vehicles to cut down the dependence on what you call it, petrol, perhaps there's tax incentives. Maybe your import duties will be 5% or 10%, of the cost, compared to the cost of importing a petrol-powered vehicle. Are there any smart policies that anybody has heard?
The answer is no. The answer is no. You know the answer is no. We haven't done the CNG buses, and we haven't done it.
No, but generally, we may say Nigeria doesn't have it, but everybody trade carbon credit. So when it comes to financing, everybody understands how to run that, that slim corridor to get the carbon credit. If your project, if your business is taking away this kind of volume of pollution, you can use it as a credit for your business. So you can do it as an individual, escalate to the government, and scale it to they have funding for those kind. It's not like Nigeria has or does not have. It's a policy that everybody that is signatory to that, I think it's Paris Accord or whatever, have it already domiciled locally in their country. So businesses that are taken away, there's even agriculture business can apply for carbon credit because this is how much they're scrubbing from their atmosphere. So it's not just people bringing in.
They don't care, JT. Calabar had something called RED. That was a carbon credit scheme, RED, where they were making a lot of millions of dollars from their ecosystem. That's across river states, right? The guy that was doing it before was a quote-unquote, exposed governor. So you knew what this was. You retain the rainforest, you get dollars. The other governor came and sold the timber to the Chinese in the pretext that he was building an express road through Calabar. So if you look at the videos in Nigeria, the Chinese went to that rainforest. That's one of the last natural rainforests in the world. And we're just cutting timber, exporting trailer loads of timber to China. Nobody raised any alarm. I even thought it was time to try to rope this lady in the UN, Mohammed, into that whole scheme. She was the Minister of Environment at the time. But this is happening right now. These are the same things you want to do. Come on. These governors don't really care about long term. It's what can I do in 4 years or 8 years? Unfortunately.
That was problematic in itself in terms of how you're going to get, they are going to operate using UNFCCC and all of that, and there are rules of how they come and measure the amount of carbon you sequester for you to get the amount is due to you. So now, you sequester a full full timber tree, you get 22 kilogram of sequestered carbon from it, which translates to about $22. So, and it takes a full tree to mature almost a year. So are you going to wait for a year to get $22? When I did the math, at the end of the day, total was going to be about $6.5 million, for sequestered dollar of carbon. So the carbon exchange system itself was a problem.
Sorry, there's something I wanted to add on to this conversation. I think so we don't go out of. We are not even looking at the fact that the Middle East is baking. Oil prices could reach $100 a barrel. The naira could fall to 2,000. I definitely see the petrol price that we're even making that at one day we might be looking at 1,005 per liter. The reason why I want to ask that, so this question I want to throw to you. Yes, it's obvious Dangote has a trading firm in London, a well experienced veteran to hedge his risk. But the reality is that the FX market, you could see how FAC allocation and also the liquid oil production has really moderated the gains of the CBN. Also, lately, according to Bloomberg, you could see that FPIs they cashed out of their fixed income, and that was why you could see yields dropping. You could see the FX market being dramatic. So yields went down actually. So my question to you, Carlos, is that are you not concerned that what we think we are trying to tighten at the oil sector is in vain, knowing fully well that the FAC and the fiscal side have not been able to tighten their seatbelt?
Yeah, I mean, I hear you, Lunde, but the so essentially what you're saying is that, what all these reforms we're doing, if we don't stop the excessive spending and the waste, it will come back to north. That's what I hear you saying, and that's the risk factor that is there. But look at one thing I think we must emphasize, Olumide. Dangote is now going to be bringing in, I would say, close to $5 to $10 billion new money. This is not money from crude oil sales. This is new money from the byproducts of crude oil. This is just minimum $5 to $10 billion to Nigeria. This money is going to come fresh. We've not had this money before. It's just like how MTN brought in new stuff. He's going to bring in $5 to $10 billion. So this tells me that if you simply wait for the next 24, 36 months, the economy picture changes for CBN and for the federal government. They're going to have access to raw dollar cash now flowing to Nigeria, not from NNPC, from Dangote alone. Remember, Dangote currently today is the largest non-oil exporter in Nigeria, from the urea fertilizer plant in Lagos, just exporting fertilizer to Brazil and the US. He's the largest non-oil exporter in Nigeria. We haven't had this petrochemical one. If this comes into being now, the Nigerian budget might see that dollars are flowing and the dollars are coming at this current 1.6. So what will happen? The Naira will strengthen to reflect that new inflow that is happening on Dangote's side. What will matter is what the federal government does with those dollars. If you take those dollars and they start to pay down the bonds, start to do infrastructure, then the Naira will keep on strengthening because the premium on uncertainty is going to vanish. People will know that the CBN for every month is going to be getting more and more and more and more dollars. So the speculative premium on the dollar is going to go away. You're going to have the real core demand for dollars remaining. That's where I think this 40% they are quoting is not going to be a 40% block. It's going to be an incremental over 36 months. If all things happen, the dollar starts to flow in, the Naira starts to strengthen based on what the Tinubu guys will do. If Tinubu guys are smart enough and are able to control spending, then we're in a good place. We've already allocated this money to salaries. We've already increased salaries to 70,000. That's going to be a substantial chunk of what is going to come through. So I fear and I hope we don't get into a situation where Dangote gives us dollar revenues and it all goes to pay salaries of civil servants. That's my fear. But I see a bit of optimism there in the air from just this particular single facility that's going to be the export and bringing in dollars into the economy. That's my take on that. The fiscal side might now, the fiscal side, they might now sort of get aligned with what's happening and say, okay, we've crossed this Rubicon, we're going to align our spending, we're going to coordinate the budget, we're going to make sure that the states and the federal government are spending as one, we're going to get credit in things like that. If that happens, we're in a good place, we're in a very, very good place. For the next, by election time in 4 years, 2 years, 3 years, we'll be in a very, very interesting place. It's not all doom and gloom yet.
Okay, and finally, but you did address that Middle East baking, like if oil gets elevated, because we don't know what Iran has.
Oil price, honestly, is going down, not up. Because right now, the OPEC has cancelled their plan, whatever is it called, whatever they're going to do. Even with Iran, remember, with the Iran bombings, oil price did not go up. So what's happening that the world is watching the US, and the US is on the brink of a, should we say, soft recession or soft or hard landing a bit. And if demand slows in the US, then oil prices are also going to slow a bit. So the world is reacting to a slowdown in the global economy that I don't think they reflected. Even when we saw the uncertainty, when you saw the uncertainty with the Iranian and Israel, prices didn't spike. So I think if oil prices, I mean, yesterday I posted an article where they said oil price is going down, and I put red flag. I want Nigeria. Oil price is going down. So if oil prices are going to go down, the imperatives for us to then focus on non-oil is now. We can't be paying high salaries and spending the little we're even getting from the crude oil we're doing. We've got to go back to the agriculture. Those ministries of agriculture, trade, and commerce become more and very, very important ministries, because that's where we're going to create the employment and the productivity to educate the young folks to stop them from going to Canada. Because every time a young person goes to Canada, what is happening is that taxes are leaving Nigeria to Canada. Canada will still tax that young guy. Nigeria will not tax him. So we've got to really coordinate. The thing Tinubu is missing in his government is the coordination amongst the ministries. The Ministry of Agriculture is doing something totally different from Ministry of Finance and Ministry of... they're not talking. You have to get a guy. Maybe this Mr. Waledu is a bit too clean and organized and can't get into the trenches. You need a developmental economist that will go in, grab you by the collar and say, this is what the president wants. We are all going to align and get this thing going. They've got great plans. The ASAP is a good plan, but they had a meeting, passed the bill, and just recently passed the board after 89 days. They just passed the guys that will, the committee that will sit. They are too slow. They are too ponderous. They are waiting for things to clear before they take action. You need a guy that can go in there, grab people and kick them and get things going. The economy is not going to wait for you to get organized. Mr. Tinubu should get a coordinating minister. Let him leave Mr. Wale do as Minister of Finance if he wants to. But get a guy and name this guy the coordinating minister of the economy and put the guy to work. A guy that has his full mandate and will not fear anybody. Put the guy to work and get things done.
But we have 15 ministers, we have countless special aids.
Many are dead weight that are there because of elections. Many are dead weight. I dare anyone today to name the Minister of Agriculture. I dare anybody today without Googling on this space. Name the Minister of Agriculture without Googling. And this is a very, very key ministry. Who is Minister of Commerce? Don't Google. Name Minister of Commerce without Googling. Minister of Education, name him without Googling. Try it now.
Name the sectors that concern them. You know how the people are just going to focus.
The telecom guy is doing agriculture. Love the guy, but so smart guy. But he's focusing on agriculture. That's not his job. And aviation. He was in Seattle the other day. He's up and around the whole place. Who is Minister of Construction? After doing Coastal Road, he has gone to sleep. Name the ministers that are supposed to drive this transformational government. Name them.
Okay. Talking about ideas for them. The transport minister, and maybe I don't know if legislations will do. You remember what part of the deals that they gave big companies like Dangote? What the federal government did was a tax break. Build your own road. Yes, it's a federal or state road. But if federal government can do the same, take the same template.
The law is still there now. It's not scrapped.
Yeah.
The law is still there.
Give it to. Let it not. Don't say, it's a state road. If somebody is doing 10 kilometers in his community, give him that 10 kilometers tax break. So that people will know that, yes, you're developing your community, but you have something back in return.
JTF.
If it is costing you, see what I'm saying? Because government will have to evaluate it. This is the standard, this is our standard construction this thing. And we agreed that it is 80 million naira per kilometer. And you put 800 million naira to do that road. They should sign it off and give you 800 million naira tax break.
JTF, what I'm saying is that I'm not interrupting you. I'm saying the laws of Nigeria today, if your village does not have power supply, water supply from the federal government, and you put a factory in your village, you don't pay taxes. That's the law of Nigeria today. They call it, I know, if you don't have, it's water, power, and road, I think. According to a level you don't have, it's existing. I've tweeted it many times in your rural area.
is there. Okay, I didn't know that they
And,
have.
in addition to that, they now pass tax credit. So you see MTN doing roads in the southeast, I think, because when you do those whatever, you don't pay corporate income tax. Dangote is doing Apapa roads.
Those are for federal roads.
No, for every road. For every road. So this law is not is if your business does not, you only pay federal taxes now. You only pay federal taxes in Nigeria. You don't, companies don't pay state taxes. They pay state payee. So the only federal government collects income tax. I don't know. So if you are a company and you cite your industry in Nnewi, I'm not sure Nnewi are aware of this. If you cite your company in Nnewi and Nnewi has no federal road, water, or power, you don't pay taxes. I'm going to post it again. That's the law of Nigeria. It's NIPC, Nigerian Investment Professional Council. They have a law. Like, I'll post it up again.
Great job. Those are the kind of things they need to do.
They don't say it now. They don't.
They actually need town hall meetings for
They don't communicate it. The ministers don't communicate it.
They are private people that want to do that. So that you know you're not just doing it for your community. You still have some benefit apart from using it. You at least your tax. You know that for the next 10 years you're not paying tax.
There's a guy that is doing coconut dwarf whatever all over Nigeria. You give him land, you come train your youth. They'll do dwarf coconut. He'll export it. That's what Ministry of Trade. Let's move on. We have nearly about 4 minutes to go, right? On this, we'll be here for 3 hours. Mr. Ben, let's sort of round down. Many guys want to speak. I didn't get them to speak. I do apologize. Ben, you've got the floor. Ben, what's your mind?
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. This space has really been. Sorry, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so this space has really been very informing. I just have some questions regarding crude oil supply to Dangote refinery. I heard someone on the space say that Dangote has an oil well. Is that true?
He has 2.
He has 2 oil wells.
Yes.
Do you have any idea of the production?
I don't. If you're on my tail, I posted a long the Twitter space we had on Dangote.
20,000 barrels.
Yeah, I know. I posted that time. Yeah. He can buy. He has 2, but he can buy more now. So.
And he can also be assigned some marginal oil fields.
He only has 2 marginal. I don't think the focus for him is that marginal. He can buy like the experts have said. He can buy if he wants from the market. Like he was buying WTI, he can buy more if he wants. So that's what the experts here are saying.
That he should buy the oil fields.
He can buy crude oil supply. He can buy crude oil supply if he wants to get crude oil to feed his feedstock. Yeah. He can buy international.
From what I've been hearing from NNPC and all that, the 1.3 million barrels of crude we're doing, they are claiming that it's already stretched out. That they've already is it futures or forwards? They've sold some.
Yeah, Ayo can give you more. Ayo this can
give you to have some. So it's like they are trying to tell us that they can't supply him enough.
Yeah, because they've done deal. I think Ayo NNPC gets 450,000 barrels a day. That's their allocation of 450,000, right? That's NNPC allocation.
Yeah. So the rest goes to ICs.
Yes.
How many barrels does Dangote need for feedstock?
It's 650,000 barrels.
And NNPC saying the 450 that they have, some part of it has already been pledged.
You remember you took a loan. You took a loan from Afrexim Bank, 3 billion. That's the collateral. So.
Yeah. Wow, that's a tough situation.
Let's pray. Let's put in prayers.
We really just need to produce more crude.
Exactly, bro.
That's the bottom line.
That's what we're ignoring. That in the end,
there's some oil wells in this country that are dormant, or maybe production is not up to.
Yes, because you have Niger Delta militants, so no one's going to go there.
The stealing and all that. Yeah.
So there's no investment coming in that area, in the upstream sector.
Exactly.
That is the big issue. That is the big issue out of everything from what I've seen. We just need to...
Again, look at Twitter I posted of Obasanjo, Yar'Adua, Goodluck, and Buhari. Look at the steep decline in oil production and then compare it with the subsidy payments. So when you produce more, you can sell more and afford a subsidy. Tinubu got in 1.3 million barrels a day. He can't do subsidy. But his ministers are not explaining this thing as plainly as both Nigerians. And even if they do, Nigerians have the right to reject it because they are buying private jets. That's the problem.
Yes.
Yes.
Guys, we've got to.
They're being frivolous with their spending.
There you go. Okay. All right, folks.
In front of us,
Gotcha. Hey, guys. It's been an excellent discussion. Excellent. We've talked about the economics of the oil. We've got lots of experts here that came. Everyone loves Nigeria. We want to see a better Nigeria, irrespective of what they say on Twitter. We want this country to succeed. We cannot have businessmen, guys that have no investment banking at the helm of affairs, and then we can solve issues like subsidy. Nigeria's budget is 5 trillion, about nearly 6 trillion. With 6 trillion, you can afford to hire people that know what they are talking about. They give you advice and you implement it. I refuse to believe that we don't know what to do. It's rather we don't want to know, or we don't want to do what we know to do. And that's a big problem. So on that note, guys, I think we can do better. We can't just, like we say, put our hands in the air and say, well, let's hope for the better. We must solve this because you are being paid to solve it. If you can't solve it, get out of the way. Let someone that can solve it come in and solve it. We can't have Nigerians hungry or paying excessive amounts for fuel that God has given